Good morning, Lafayette. Man, it has been a cold weekend. We always got to have some hiccups there. I had some problems with the OBS. The audio didn't want to go out, and so I had to restart YouTube and start all over again. Kind of seems like it's been that way every day the last few weeks. I need a producer to put the show out for me so that I don't have any of these problems when you go live, right? Good morning, Lafayette. I'm Brian Burden, your host of Let's Talk Lafayette, your home for real conversations about our community, our people, and the world around us. Of course, I am a meteorologist, so there is going to be a ton of weather in this show every single day. You'll probably get a half hour to 45 minutes at the beginning of every show where we talk about what's going to be happening in the next few days, maybe even farther out than that, probably a week or two at times. I will go right through the models. I'll show you the information piece by piece as we do that. I love sports. I'll talk a ton of sports, of course, Purdue sports being the big one here in town. And I will talk anything about the world, about local stories that are going on. We have all kinds of things going on between the warming centers that have been set up in Lafayette, between the all kinds of urgent blood drives that are being done, and all kinds of information. We'll get into that stuff as we go through the day today. And I'm going to be here with you for the next 3 hours. There might be a little spot in between where I got to run the grandson down to the bus and then back up. So there might be 15 minutes or so where I jump out of here just for a bit. But that we'll see how that goes. We'll see how he feels. It's a little windy out there this morning. It is rather chilly just about everywhere. It is. I would call it darn right cold, right? For those of you who want to know what Antarctica was like, let's think the other day when it was 0 and the wind was like 10, 15 miles an hour. That's what Antarctica feels a lot like, especially early in what is their summer season, which would be like November, October, November, December. December it starts warming up. It can get up to freezing 32. I've seen it as high as 51 at McMurdo Station there in Antarctica, and then in January it rapidly starts to fall off into February as they push towards the winter months. So that's, remember, they're flip flop from us. Their summer is our winter. So every time I would go down during their summer, it will be our winter here. So it's kind of getting winter in both places, so to speak, because it's still cold down there at that time frame. But the other day, I think especially Sunday, when it was windy and it was cold and it was snowy out there, that's what Antarctica feels like at times. But many times, it's just a beautiful place to see and to be. If you get a chance to go down there on a vacation or something, you go ahead and take it and go down and see that beautiful place. I saw there was a story just today on a cruise ship that one of the icebreakers had to go break out of the ice to get him out of there and make sure he was safe. And I think that's on the Antarctic peninsula side, which is South American side. The U.S. generally does all their research out of McMurdo, which comes in south of New Zealand. So you go to New Zealand first and then fly down there is how that works out. So that's where we're going with today, with all this weather, with all this stuff that has happened over the weekend. And I've got a ton of things to get for you guys. Let's just bust right into it, right? Let's see what's going on. We're gonna cut across and we're gonna go a little picture in picture here so you can see me and we can kind of see what the weather's like. And we're just gonna get right into it. 13 degrees outside right now, mostly sunny conditions. It is a cold morning. It is blustery outside. I would call it blustery, with the winds right around 15 miles an hour right now. You got a wind chill below 0 to maybe -5 or -10. And as you notice, once you get to that 0 mark, everything just feels cold after that, right? Regardless of what it is. At 32 and a 15-mile-per-hour wind, it feels like 20, but still cold. But at 0 and 15 miles an hour, you are chilly. And today's the same thing, 13 with 15 mile per hour. Now, that's sustained winds, too. We might be getting gusts to as high as 20 or 25. And I'm pretty positive that we are going to see lots of gusty winds during the day today. There still is a cold weather advisory in effect from 10 p.m. tonight to Wednesday at 11 a.m. One just went out as the temperatures have risen. Here we go. Let's pop us in there for the extreme cold warning for tonight. Dangerously cold wind chills as low as 20 below 0. And I could see it maybe 30 as potential. We'll get into the winds and we'll see how that looks. The cold weather advisory, very cold wind chills, all of central Indiana for the extreme cold warning until 9 a.m. was for this morning, and then there will be a new one. There it is popping up for tomorrow. Goes all the way out through 11 a.m. tomorrow. So starting at 10 o'clock tonight through 11 o'clock tomorrow. Same thing, cold weather advisory. So, dependent on the school and the school systems, we could see another 2 hour type delay again tomorrow with that. A lot of the schools were on 2 hour delays today because of the cold and because of the wind. And I'm sure that we're still having problems with a few roads. I was amazed. I think the guys did a great job yesterday. So what happened for me was I ran the wife to work very early in the morning yesterday morning, like 3 o'clock, and came back, and then just was sick, wasn't feeling good physically. I couldn't get myself up out of bed, get moving. That's why there was no show yesterday. But while I was out, I was like, wow, these guys have done a great job on the roads. Got to hand it to the guys with the plows out there, putting out that brine on the roads to keep them cleaner. The roads were pretty clean at 3 o'clock yesterday morning, which would have been Monday morning after everything had ceased. And things were quiet, and it was a good road there yesterday. So they did a great job. Great job for them guys yesterday for us and for everybody around us. When you look at the 5 day forecast here, you can see 17, 13, 12, 14, 19, 24. Hey, there's a 24 way out on Sunday. Finally, something in the 20s. Wouldn't be surprised if we maybe scratch out 20 on Saturday. But these are just general numbers. Here's the general lows. How about this? -3 again tomorrow morning, -2 Thursday morning. So the bitter cold is here. It is in place for a while, it looks like, under not much. There's going to be a big high pressure system over us. I can tell you that right now. I haven't even gone and looked at the charts real close yet. So we'll cover that together as we go through it. Matter of fact, let's go look at the satellite picture right now. And what I can see on the satellite picture is a lot of cold weather, not that many clouds. This is the infrared shot, what we used overnight. A lot of your whites over here, like say Tennessee. I'll put the cursor on Lafayette for you real quick here. And the cursor's on Lafayette, and you can see what looks like white ground. Now, that's not snow, although it can pick up snow from time to time. That's just colder temperatures. The whites and the grays are cold. Look at the lake. You can kind of see the lake is a dark gray because it's much, much warmer, along with the ocean when you go back down and to the right there off of the North Carolina coast. So this is all of the Midwest, basically out to the Rocky Mountains. Out to the Rocky Mountains, you can see all kinds of clouds streaming off of the mountains out there, but nothing in between. It is just cold temperatures. And you can also see the cold temperatures on the chart where the kind of where the zero line starts, Fahrenheit, about where the white edge and the blue edge come together here, or purplish edge, whichever color that is. And that is actual cold temperatures on the ground. And you can see that pretty easily. Now, this morning we're at 13, so we're not that way, but we've had lots of this purple over us the last couple weeks, actually, a good solid week anyway, off and on at times. So as we've approached zero and below zero several times in the last week, and it looks like it's going to be that way again for the next couple of days. So we do have some high clouds streaming out of the area. We're starting to open up. A lot of clouds coming off the back of Lake Michigan, pushing into Michigan. Lots of snows on the backside there. So you can see from Benton Harbor all the way up to Lake, pretty much there's probably snowfall. And it has been snowing in these places here for a week and a half straight. So I'm sure they were getting several inches each day. They've had plenty of snow up there. Meanwhile, down in Lafayette, we had our system come through, and the majority of us got probably 6 to maybe 9 inches of snow, depending on where you were in the county. The farther south, the better chance you might have had maybe 9 or 10 or 11. The farther north, up towards Rensselaer, Brookston, that kind of thing, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches it was what you hit. And remember, it can be streaky at times too, but most of us got about 6 to 9 inches, and the road crews did great with it. So hopefully you are back to normal today or getting close to it. You've bundled yourself up as you've gone out and about. And as you head off to work, or maybe you're in with the kids today and you're homeschooling, or you're just stuck in somewhere, and you're listening to what I've got going today, hopefully you're being taken care of, and you were able to take care of your neighbors. I did not hear of any winter storm related problems where we had a death or anything in the local area. But the last I saw was over 25 people from the storm as it moved up the Ohio Valley, and it covered anywhere from Maine through Alabama to, of course, Indiana and back towards Texas, anywhere in that swath, right up the Ohio River Valley is where the storm went through over the last few days. So that's where the satellite is right now. I'm going to zoom in here real quick. Let's go in a little closer. We can pinpoint stuff a little easier, and you can see there's Lafayette right there. And those are mid-level clouds pretty much passing off. Sunshine should be coming out for the rest of the day. It'll feel warm if you're sitting in your car and there's no wind on you and you're facing into the sun. It'll still feel a little warm, but generally speaking, it's cold, and we're not going to get rid of that anytime soon. So you can definitely see the clouds coming off the lake up to the north. Might be snowing in South Bend. We'll probably get into a little bit of that too. And we'll start picking up some visual shots here pretty soon in another hour or two. And maybe we'll go back and take a look at that and see if we can start seeing a little bit more of the ground. Meanwhile, let's go to the models. Let's go see what's happening in our world and what the models are saying is going to happen. Well, here's the big picture. The big picture shows the snow coming off the lake, as you can see up to our north. Doesn't show much over us except for this tight gradient. So when it says 1026, 1024, the line 1022, these black lines, these are called isobars. Now, the isobars close together generally mean stronger, gustier winds. When they're farther apart, like out here in Kansas and Missouri, less wind out there. Okay, so gusty winds in our area, we can already see that before we've even gone to the gusty map chart, so to speak. And we will be seeing gusty winds off and on throughout the day. And I've already seen them this morning when I dropped the other two grandsons off at the bus stop down the bottom of the hill for us. And very windy conditions throughout the day, it looks like. This is just the beginning. This is the first chart. Let's see how it advances. It advances. We don't see any real snow anywhere near us, and we're going to watch for a high coming in from the west, the northwest, probably from right here. We're just starting to see the inklings of it at 17Z, which is about noon today. And then we still see kind of the gradient there. We are shifting a little more northwesterly. There's going to be a big pocket of cold off to our northwest. Nothing for precipitation, though. Look at this. Oh, and there's the high coming out over the plains area, over Kansas into Missouri. We see it pretty well there at that point. And with the high, remember, clockwise flow around the high. So you're going to be getting winds out of the northwest to north to westerly, depending on where you are here in the Midwest, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. Missouri looks pretty quiet for most of the day today into the evening tonight. This would be about 1 in the morning tomorrow morning. And same thing, we're doing the same thing. The high is passing to our south, which has trapped the cold air north of it. And we happen to be in that span where the cold air is. And there's just no systems moving through right now. So over the next day or so, we start to see the inklings of some snow out to the west popping up, and a low pressure system out over Oklahoma on Thursday morning. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this 2 days out, see what happens with that. Meanwhile, the high kind of guides us at least through that period. So let's go back to now, and then let's tack on some let's see, temperatures. Let's see, there we go. There's the temperature. And now I'm going to come in. First off, let's take a look. We can see the big pocket. We'll look at the pocket off to the north of the cold. And here's today. We go through the day. It warms up for everybody a little bit. And then by tomorrow morning, we're dropping off. And look at this big pocket. Big pocket. It's still thinking we're going to have some clouds and maybe -1 as a possibility, -14, -15 close to us, where we're pulling in some of the cold air from the north. And with no cloud cover over us, we will distinctly start to see the very cold air advect into the atmosphere. It kind of, whatever's on the ground will just go up into the atmosphere. There's nothing to keep it close to the ground. And for us, because of where the high is, we start to get more of a westerly flow, which you can see right here, which starts to pull in a little warmer air here, but some cold air is trapped in southern Indiana and central Indiana. Look at that, a low of -12 to 14 tomorrow in Indianapolis, while we'll probably be in the single digits below zero, -1 to -5. Depending on which model you're looking at. And then it warms back up into the teens tomorrow, 18, 19, somewhere in there, and falls back off again Thursday morning. Same thing, hovering around 0 to -5, it looks like, for that. Now let's zoom in and take a look at that real quick here. Let me switch up our charts, go with a different selection, come in close to Lafayette so we can see the numbers a little clearer. You can see the flow. You can see the flow coming down and away from the lake and from Iowa and from Minnesota, Wisconsin area where it's cold right now, and it's normally cold up there, of course. And we see the temperatures drop off, and there's this big pocket that pops up. This is midnight or so, starts to get really cold. Now, again, dependent on cloud cover, but right now it doesn't look like there's going to be much cloud cover overnight. So we're going to be hovering somewhere tomorrow morning, same thing, below zero. Today we're at like 13 with a gusty wind. Tomorrow it'll just be 0 to -5, give or take where you're at, and you're going to have a 10-knot wind. When I put the cursor right over us, it shows -1 with 6 knots. That'll feel like -10. And then you can find some -2s. You can find some. You go down towards Indianapolis, all of a sudden it's -11, -7 down there. So a cold pocket, another cold pocket over in Illinois. So anywhere in this stretch, you're going to probably be below zero or very close to it tomorrow with some gusty winds still kind of close by. Then we again warm up to 18 tomorrow, but now we're more out of the west and it's a little warmer out to our west. So we'll start to warm up a little bit tomorrow again, too. Up to around, it shows 18, so we'll see how about that. Could we scratch out 20 tomorrow for the first time in a while? Could be. And then back to Thursday morning where here comes the cold again, and we're at 0, pockets of -4s and 5s around us, and very cold temperatures. So a lot of that. Now, let's couple that with the wind. We already saw what the temperatures were going to be like. Let's throw the wind gusts on there. Now, we're already this morning very gusty outside. Here we are. Let's go back to 15Z, which is probably about 9 o'clock. There you go. It shows gust to 31 out there. Okay, so gust to 31 with a 13 is about a -10 wind chill, give or take just a little bit. So there we are. We're at the high winds right now. Let's see what happens during the day. Drops a little bit. It's about 26 in another hour or so. I think it'll keep going down. There we go, 24, 22, 19, as we lose the influence of those strong gusty winds, and we're back into the teens. But then watch what happens tonight. It's not bad overnight. See, winds aren't terrible, but our temperature is going to be 0, right? And then we've got the gusty winds starting to pick up during the day again tomorrow, as we see that off to our northwest. We're at like 17 tomorrow morning, mid-morning, and then we're back into the 20s, but the temperature will be below 0, and so it'll be very chilly again tomorrow morning. Hence the cold warning out that is out for Lafayette and the local area for tonight and tomorrow morning. All right, well, along with that, one last thing I want to look at on the close-in charts here is cloud cover. Let's see what we can see for cloud cover, average cloud cover. So here we are now. We've already seen this. I'll go back to satellite picture real quick. Let's see here. Right now, there we go. And what we see is clearing clouds, right? We see these clouds clearing and some back up to the north. And what does the model say it's gonna look like? Well, here it shows, if it's on time, boom, boom, shows kind of clearing, but it shows a stretch of a little bit of clouds possibly coming over this afternoon for a while. This is still the afternoon. Now into the evening, look what happens. Just drop off all those clouds. And this could be fog on the ground. Could be an ice crystal, very cold scenario with some foggish type conditions on the ground here. Remember, this snow down here was much wetter than the snow up to the north that we got. And since that doesn't move, you notice it really doesn't move. It looks like it's almost on the ground. That looks more like a fog to me setting up tomorrow morning. If you are driving south towards Indianapolis, heading towards Louisville, anything like that. Very open skies throughout the entire area tomorrow morning. And there will be some fog potential, I think, right there. And since we are close enough to that fog, we should keep an eye on it. But again, most of our snow was a dry snow. So there's not the atmosphere for moisture as there may be in the snow that's on the ground down there. And that's maybe why that popped up like that. And then it's clear all day tomorrow. And then we'll start to pick up a little bit of clouds coming in from the south or northwest and west, but they kind of we stay in the open because we're right here. All right. And again, these clouds could be just a little bit off, right? You know, you're talking high level clouds. It could be right here. It could be back farther southwest. But generally speaking, right now, the same, we're going to miss most of those. And then all these clouds up to the north start to push into the area, and we start to see an influx of what's going to happen with Thursday morning, where we start to pick up more cloud cover and it becomes overcast just about everywhere. So now let's go back out to the big picture and see what happens to that storm. or what we thought was a storm out to our west. We'll go back to precipitation types, and now we'll change models. We'll go to the NAM. The NAM goes out just a little bit farther. This is valid for 6Z. The 12Z hasn't come out yet, but we see the streak. There's a streak of that snow. Now, remember when it was over here, I was like, hey, let's keep an eye on this because this is about where the HERS stops, somewhere in there. Well, this says it'll be a little closer to us. It streaks kind of to our south, and there's the low coming out south of Oklahoma, down into Arkansas and pressing towards the south, it looks like, at least currently, is where the NAM has it. And we're just in between. We do start to pick up more of a northerly flow again on Friday. Maybe some flurries get down here with some light snow coming off of the lake, like we see from time to time. No big real accumulations, though, I would think, with this, although there is a little small low pressed in there. I'm not sure if that's more of an anomaly or what it is at this point, but it does show the potential for something to come down out of the north on Friday. So that would be Thursday night into Friday with snowfall potential there, but being very light. Let's see what it says, potential there. Yeah, it doesn't even show any real accumulations on that. So now let's go a little farther out and let's see what the European model says. And the European model, gotta go back to precipitation for it. It still shows something coming off the lake. Let's see what it did with that system. See the same thing with the system. Now, this system is not a closed low, it's a trough. When you don't see a circle in there, that would be your closed low. This is a trough, which is like a low pressure system, but it's just not totally closed off. Now you see a little low there, and then we start to see just the trough again. And you get that from picture to picture at times. But we do see a northerly flow kicking in Friday, Thursday, Friday, snow coming off the lake, but really not enhancing near us. Maybe that means flurries, especially if those clouds come in on Friday, like it showed Thursday into Friday. Any low cloud cover could bring us some flurries and light snow potential. Big high moves in again on Saturday into Sunday, and this will just reinforce the cold again eventually. So it's going to reinforce it here on Friday into Saturday, and then try to warm us up on Sunday, either late Saturday or into Sunday, tries to warm us up before it brings in the first clipper system on Monday, Sunday night into Monday, a clipper system. We'll keep an eye on this. It's a long ways out still. So, but there's our first real clipper system that shows up on the European model. And if you tack the GFS on top of that, the GFS says it's a little slower. That's about it for Monday. And it starts to bring it in. And then we start to go farther out with the GFS and it brings it across us. And then watch another high. Hey, guys, it's cold. Now we start to see some warmth a little bit coming from the southwest. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th of February, which is next week, of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, somewhere in there, we start to see a little influence of warmth, and it comes through. We get that system, and then there's cold right behind it for a bit, and now we're starting to get more of a still continued winter flow with systems coming out of the north and cold temperatures over us. I'll go to the temperatures here in a second to show you the long range, and just not a lot of systems. Now, very typical. So let's go way back here for the GFS, back to about where we are. Let's get some temperatures on there so we can see what's going on. And let's see what it says. So it says Wednesday, tomorrow morning. Well, this would be this afternoon, right? And it drops us off into the single digits tomorrow morning. And this goes in 3-hourly jumps. So I'll go through this pretty quickly and back up into the upper teens tomorrow. And then Wednesday morning, back down to 0, -1. It doesn't get as cold of a pocket of air as the European model showed and the HERS showed. So that could be some good news for us, but still 0 to -5 is cold either way you look at it. Wednesday, back into the teens maybe, back down to single digits on Thursday morning to 0. So that's 0 to 5. 15 on Friday. Not a lot of help there temperature-wise. No influx of the warm air down to our south at all coming towards us through Friday, still the teens. Then Saturday, there's a little bit, we maybe 17, 18. This is not, and where's our flow coming? Now it's coming back down out of Canada, but the air in Canada is a bit warmer now than it was. It's not that frigid -0s, -1s, but at night it's still going to get cold, especially if there's no cloud cover at all. And then Here we go into Sunday. There's a 20s on Sunday. Finally, some 20s, May 24 on Sunday with a westerly wind, and I start to see some warmth out in the plains area a little bit. If you call 30s the warmth, which is back to our normal temperature for this time of the year. That does not push in though right away. There it comes on Monday, trying to get there we go. 29 on Monday. It shows. Let's be optimistic. We're going to go for 32 on Monday. That'll be our first temperature above freezing for a while. For a long period. It'll be 2 weeks at that point by the time it gets back to there or close to it, 10 days anyway. And then here we go. Still cold though. We're looking at we reinforced the cold on Tuesday. It doesn't get that warm at all. Wednesday's back cold. And then Wednesday maybe back up to 30 or so. Remember, Lafayette's right about here, kind of showing you how it works. Then there's some warmth there. There's that system I was talking about. It drags up some warmth and boom, reinforces the cold again for a bit. So the middle of February right now looks pretty chilly, but we're starting to see some influences finally of some warmth in the middle of the month before another drop of cold. But look how warm it is out in Kansas and stuff. It's in the 50s out there in the middle of February, February 9th. So that's pretty warm for them. But for us, no big change. A lot of cold, staying cold, a few little spots of warmth, but that's still a week away or so before that hits of what we would call warmth, but it's really just getting us back to normal. And then wow, here we are. This is February 12th. And so you're talking Wednesday night into Thursday. There's that big pocket of minus teens off to our northwest again, a flow coming out of the north, and we're going to be getting cold again. Not a lot of prospects for warm weather out there, folks. I'm sorry about that. I wish we did have some in there. It's just not there. I do take some solace in the fact that long range forecasts can be pretty bad at times. So we could be way off on these. But look at the trends. The trends are cold. The trends are not a lot of snow, which is probably a good thing. The trends will be windy. It's winter. At times, we'll see some pretty gusty conditions, which will make for some pretty cold wind chills. That's for sure. And at times we will see different things that will come through. Let me hit a couple of these charts here just to show you where everything was this weekend. See if we can pop them up there on there for you. Okay, so here's what's the big swath, right? From New Mexico all the way up to Boston right now is where pretty much everything was at. Let's see if we can get it in line for you guys. And starting what we called was a West Texas low. That's what I was told they were when I was a young forecaster, a Texas low that comes in the winter and kind of just slides right up the Ohio Valley. And that is exactly what happened to us. We just saw it everywhere. So from Louisville to Oklahoma City, back up to Boston, New York, everybody saw some pretty decent snows during that time frame. We also saw a lot of cold. Here were your cold temperatures Monday morning, and we're seeing more of that today. Not minus 20 this morning, but tomorrow morning we may be seeing something in that range. So they have cold warnings out. This was yesterday morning, minus 20. I had this kind of set up for us for yesterday to show you where the cold was there. And then again, another quick just shot of kind of where most of the main snow fell. And it was that swath between Indianapolis and Louisville, which we honed in on Thursday and Friday being the area. Anywhere from the river, which was a spot to just about north of the river. And that's where most of the snow did fall. And for us, that just dragged us closer and closer to the actual low pressure system as it passed through. And kind of that's where all your outages were too. There's been some long lasting outages, people without power for several days already for the path that it took and the low pressure system that they went through. And that's kind of where everything ended up on that front, at least for now. I wish I had the better news on the cold and the warm, but for now, that's going to be about it. That's what we're going to see weather-wise. We're not going to expect a lot of forecast changes here anytime soon, other than it's going to be cold and it's going to be chilly. So that leaves us to several other things that are going on today. Locally, that means we can focus on that. We can take away from the cold weather, even though there's a cold weather advisory for tonight from 10 o'clock tonight till 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Locally, there's been a lot of other activity going on. There's all kinds of people that have been having problems with the cold. We want to, all kinds of snow recovery. I don't want someone having a heart attack out there trying to shovel your snow. Good news was, and you put that in parentheses, right? Good news. The good news was is the snowfall was light, very light snowfall. And it was that stuff you can pick up fairly easy compared to that heavy deep stuff when it's like 30 degrees and it's real heavy snowfall and it's wet. Yeah, so Indiana was able to get through that pretty well. What kind of things are happening locally, news-wise? Let's get into local news right away this morning. I'm just going to go look at WLFI's website. I use WLFI, Star City, Journal and Courier, of course. Those are our local news outlets, and you want to support the local news outlets the best you can. And you say, well, why? Well, if we lose our local news outlets here, we now become dependent on Indianapolis, right? And Indianapolis is only going to catch the big stories, like the judge getting shot a week or so ago, like different if there's a shooting and someone passes away or something like that, where WLFI, Star City, and the Journal and Courier are going to pick up everything else that you are concerned about in your local area. And we're going to try to talk about that here on the show here because we want you to, check in with us and tell us what you think, what you're thinking on any given day so that we can talk to you about it and see what you're thinking about any different situation, any different problem that you may be having yourself. And maybe it's local. Maybe it's the world. Maybe you want to talk about President Trump. Maybe you want to talk about Iran. Maybe you want to talk about the waterworks downtown. Any of those things are fair game here, and we would love to hear from you and talk to you about it. And that's kind of what the show is set up for. I think I may be changing some times and some different things here so we can make it easier for you to get to or make it into something you can come back and look at a later time, like in the afternoon or the evening if you're getting home, and we can talk about different things. And maybe you'll be able to see that a little easier. But after a couple of weeks, we're doing pretty good. I think a lot of you are enjoying it. The ones who get with me and chat with me and talk with me. Those are some good things there. That's definitely for sure. All right, so the first thing I see on the page on WLFI is Indiana lawmakers advance bill to ban foreign vape products targeting China on this. Obviously, China sends their stuff in. They're not they mimic whatever they can find, but they don't care if it's going to be doing anything to anybody. And if you're a vapor and you're getting one of these bad ones, it could lead to some many bad things, obviously. So Indiana Senator Ron Alting is trying to advance this legislation that would ban all foreign-made vaping products from Indiana vape shops with a particular focus on products originating from China. So Senate Bill, it's number 185, would restrict vape shops across the state to selling only American-made vaping products. A move Alting says is aimed at improving consumer safety. See, yeah, I do believe that. I'm not saying that we're not trying to do everything American, which would be great because when we have it here, it's jobs here, all that kind of thing. We understand that a bit. But in this case, it seems more like safety, like the vapes aren't as good. They don't keep you as safe as they should. I do want to make sure we have safe products in there that they're smoking, said Alting said that. And he, of course, represents Tippecanoe and Carroll County's District 22. He says China is the primary concern due to its dominance in the global vape manufacturing market. The product is a bad product. It should not be in our vape shops. And China doesn't even sell that product in their own country, but they ship it to America and we have it in our vape shops. And, that's not a good sign, is it? When we hear that right away that they're not even using it in China. So that tells me something right there. So that's one of those things that kind of was crazy on that. So here's a story. I think this is the same story I saw the other day. Let me see if they've got the headlines. Two men caught after high-speed chase near Tippecanoe gas station. Let me see if this is the one that I thought it was. State police said a trooper attempted to stop a driver who was speeding over 100 miles an hour on Interstate 65. This was on January 23rd. It is the story that I saw. After a pursuit on foot chase, police arrested 30-year-old Dallas Garnett, 28-year-old Larry Harris. Troopers said they found suspected marijuana thrown from the car during the stop. They're from East Chicago, Indiana, and they were arrested and faced 10 preliminary charges because they were fleeing the police. Apparently, I believe the story is they got off on one exit And then the police found them off of an exit, and then they got back on the interstate, and they got off the interstate up on at 43 there, where they whipped in behind the speedway and pulled into the area right behind the state police department, right into the parking lot back there. And they were caught right out in front of the liquor store and right next to the state police department. The state police, not a good place for you to go try to hide, right? If that's the story and those are the guys, that's pretty funny. I gotta admit, you you're already speeding, you're already doing something wrong, and then you're trying to hide and you go to the police department. Are you giving yourself up? I don't know. Maybe they got credit for that because they pulled in there and they can use that. Maybe they got a good attorney who will use that for them. But I saw they were facing like 6 charges apiece because they ran from the police, and I don't know if they fought back or anything like that. That always is a problem too. But man, so back to the story about the judge. Of course, they've arrested 5 in the judge shooting. They're expecting some more updates today. And if you hadn't heard, it was some kind of biker gang thing going on. New developments are expected this week regarding the January 18th shooting of Judge Stephen Meyer and his wife. They are scheduling a conference for some time today. The Lafayette Police Department will brief the media, and officials from Lafayette Police, State Police, the FBI, Mayor Roswowski, and the County Prosecutor's Office are expected to speak. We'll give you, if I don't know whether it's this morning or it's the afternoon. It doesn't give me any times here on when that is, but it sounds like the story on that is a biker gang who one of the individuals was going to go in front of the judge, and they didn't want to go in front of the judge, so they thought they'd take the judge out. And I gotta ask myself, what were you really thinking? Um, I know it was the worst kind of case scenario with that. First off, they tried something they shouldn't have. Obviously, that never ends well, and it's kind of like the guys pulling into the parking lot of the state police. You're setting yourself up in this day and age when you do something because there's so many cameras out there and there's so much information. You're going to get caught no matter what you do or where you go. It's going to be hard not to get caught in this day and age because they will just follow you back to wherever you go. Eventually, you're going to take your mask off. You're going to get in a car. You're going to do something, and they're going to find and catch you. Um, uh, it seems like years and years ago, a lot of our murders were not caught, and now we're getting more and more, and we're catching more and more people who do things bad, and murders rate and the incarceration rate for murder is starting to go up because they're catching more and more people. Because now you have DNA, you got cameras, you got all kinds of different things out there that can find you at any given time, right? So there was a small plane crash yesterday. Well, we'll call it a jet. It was in Bangor, Maine. 7 people died in that, unfortunately, on takeoff. That was in the news yesterday. I saw that. People were heading over to Europe, and then of course the storm was still kind of going through over there at that time frame. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I haven't seen any videos on it yet of actual information. There's a lot on YouTube of guys who are pilots that will go through the information and tell you everything about it on podcasts. Very good if you're interested in that kind of thing. And me, as an aviation weather forecaster over the years and years, obviously interested in what happens to planes in weather, why they crash, what happens. For some reason, I kind of get glued to those, and I can watch those for a while to see why something happens, and then to see what precautions are taken afterwards, right? Because they always take some kind of precautions to fix the other aircraft that might be exactly like that one, right? So that's what they do at least during that time frame. And I like those shows, and there's a lot of them out there, and you might like them too. I'm not sure. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. City of Lafayette urges residents to move cars for snow removal. I did see a few, but it looked like yesterday when I went out in the morning, early morning, taking the wife to work, that most everybody had theirs out, and most of the streets were cleared pretty well. Only a few cars here or there compared to normal. Going up the big hill in town was pretty clear. And I only saw one car that had been parked on the side that was kind of snowed in by the plow there. So the city of Lafayette snow emergency remains in effect this morning. I don't know how much longer that's going to be like that. Residents are asked to keep their cars off the streets, especially until they are plowed from curb to curb. And I guess now they're trying to get to all those small side streets, right? Officials emphasize that even if you don't live in a priority route, moving your vehicle can greatly assist snow removal crews. And for a list of the priority routes, visit the city's official snow removal page. So that's where you're going to find that kind of thing. And the city, tippecanoe.in.gov is what the county one, and I'm sure Lafayette's is very similar. There was some good information, some bad information when we talk about basketball and things like that. And Purdue this weekend, I want to cover that here in a little bit. Let's see if there's any other highlights here. With sub-zero temperatures looming, it's important to take steps to prevent your pipes from freezing. Obviously, I don't know about you, but I've been dribbling the cold tap every night just to be safe. I don't think I have any problems here, but we haven't had long extended period below zero like this, like we're going to see off and on for the next few mornings. So take precautions, be ready for that, so that you are safe in yours. Maybe I remember when we had our house out on 600 out by Harrison. I had to put a heater out there by the pipes in the garage one year because it got so cold and there was no the protection around the pipes just from the water heater into the house was not working very well. So I put a little small heater out there. And I don't remember how we fixed it. If we probably fixed it eventually, I'm sure, or whoever bought the house from us did later. I'm not sure. It's 25 years ago, 20 years ago, but the pipes can have some problems and you can have some freezing, and we don't want that to happen because you burst a pipe in the house and then you're running water everywhere, and then you've got all kinds of other problems, not just the pipe itself breaking, right? So that's what you have on at least on that front. Um, What's this one? This one is Indiana to pursue permitting primacy over carbon dioxide storage wells. Now, I don't even know what that means. Hoosier leaders plan to take over federal review of a pipeline of contentious projects to inject carbon dioxide deep underground. 9 applications for Indiana sites are before the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. They're one of 6 classes of wells the EPA regulates under an underground injection control program for substances like oil, gas, and now the geological sequestration of carbon dioxide. So CO2 will get captured, and storage proposals have faced intense local opposition in Indiana. A bill under consideration by the Indiana General Assembly would require the Department of Natural Resources Autonomous Board to seek primary enforcement authority over Class 6 wells. Wherever you stand on sequestration, first of all, we want to keep Indiana competitive, bring in business and jobs, said Representative Ed Soliday from Valpo. Second of all, we want to be prepared to pivot with whatever happens in Washington because Washington has been like a pendulum on a clock and it's bouncing off the sides, he said. That we can all agree with. From one side of the aisle taking control to the other side taking control. It's happening, and it may switch again in 2 years, 3 years. So, but some skeptics fear the state isn't fully equipped to carry it out, all of this that's going to be happening. So, primacy's popularity. 6 states already hold primary enforcement authority for Class 6 wells, according to an EPA table. They have to demonstrate that they will administer the program up to the standards that the EPA wants and would like. And that comes from a visiting professor out of Indiana and former EPA deputy Mr. Janet McCabe. She said that. Uh, well, procedurally, it would follow the same steps as everyone else, but how the wells would be used would dictate the kind of information that you would need, of course. So they're trying to keep an eye on it, make sure someone's not doing something they shouldn't. Sequestration would allow ethanol producers, for instance, to fulfill global and domestic demand for clean fuels. So that's where they're going for this, I guess, out of Indiana and trying to get that. Whereabouts in the state doesn't really say here. Uh, Primacy, which is what the bill's called, would ensure these decisions are made in Indiana, closer to Indiana geology and Indiana's communities and Indiana stakeholders, she said. So there's plenty of people who are skeptical. The executive director of Citizens Action Coalition, Kerwin Olson, said his ratepayer advocacy organization and peers think agencies like DNR can be too lax on this. Um, us and many others have sort of viewed Indiana environmental authorities as, nothing more than pay to play sort of permit issuing agencies. And they worry the streamlined timeline a firm may seek could come at a cost. There's a reason for that bureaucracy, those regulations, he said. Oh, man. So back and forth on that one. It'll be hard to see what's happening there. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I gotta learn some more about that. What are they actually going to pump it into the ground for? And what is going to come of that? Is it locally here in Lafayette? Is it downstate? Is it upstate? Where is it? And there are a lot of activities going on in different places that we may run into because of that. So, and it may affect us. We'll have to see as it goes, right? Let's see. Does Star City have anything about what time the reference is for the? I don't see anything on theirs either for what time the actual get together and them talking about everything will be with the 5 people arrested who shot the judge. So they had their first story on there is about that too, but nothing says when the actual media getting together and talking to the Indiana police and the FBI and the mayor comes out and talks. So uh, there was they also had the high speed car chase in there, so a lot of their stuff is from over the weekend too, and it's been rough. There probably wasn't much news yesterday because not a lot of people were out and about yesterday, obviously, right? There just wasn't a whole bunch of things going on. But there are things like early voting resumes. Polls are open again today across. Now, this is Louisiana, so I'm not sure why I got some Louisiana. This happens occasionally on here, so I'm going to stay away from that one. We'll have to get into some of the world stuff that's going on right now, right? It looks like Kristi Noem has been given humiliating new role by Trump after the summit with the Ice Maiden. That's what they're calling her over deadly Minnesota meltdown. So Donald Trump reined in Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Apparently it was an icy meeting that between the two because she jumped out there right away and she said that this guy that had been killed over the weekend was this, and this. And of course, that's the information the White House got, and that's not what the information was. He was different than that. He was yes, he was armed, but he didn't get it out. It was all kinds of things she tried to make him sound like that he wasn't. Now, as for me, wrong place, wrong time. It appears there may have been a shot that rang out from his weapon when they were pulling it away from him, and that may have triggered everything. But I'll be the first one to tell you, why didn't he just lay down, put his hands over his head? He's fighting through the whole thing. I don't understand the fighting thing. If you're going to fight, there could be a mistake that happens. If you just give yourself up, right, and let the handcuffs go, you go home. You still get your point across because you're getting arrested, right? But there's this fighting thing going on constantly, and that first off, you don't gain people when you do that. You usually lose people, but for some reason, they still think that that is the way to go, right? Uh, so that's kind of the deal with that. The guy, I don't know. I think the lady got pushed down. He was going to help the lady, but he's pushing back against the cops. He's getting sprayed. There's angles that show that they get him on the ground, but he's still kind of fighting back. But he doesn't pull his weapon out, from what most of us can tell. Somebody grabs his weapon, and as they're yelling, "They got the gun!" Right? I've got the gun. It shoots off. It goes off. Right? As that one officer was pointing the gun towards the street. It sounds like one shot and then a bunch of shots because people think he's shooting at them, which can happen. Now, somebody's still in trouble for this. Somebody should be in trouble for this because, in my mind, I got a guy on the ground. But what if I think he's shooting at me because I just hear a round go off and someone just yells gun, gun, gun? That's why we don't never get ourselves in these positions in the first place, right? Um, yeah, you don't rev your engine and run at an agent in your car because you could get shot. You don't have the gun with you in the first place. I personally would not have taken the gun. Yes, he absolutely had the right to have it. No problems with that. None. But what does that lead to? That leads to problems. Um, and we saw that in the Rittenberg case a couple years ago, where he had problems because he took a weapon with him. Plus, he was underage. He should not have had that. Um, and then he tried to protect himself and he got in trouble. So, this guy, same thing. He took his weapon. I don't have a problem. He had concealed carry, the whole deal. He should be able to do that. Um, but in this case, if he had just given himself up, plus he's supposed to tell the officers that he has the gun, and I'm not sure if that happened or not. But either way, somebody reacted to something that happened, and this man ended up dead. And it looks like somebody's going to be in trouble somewhere or the other. And the president's first notes he got from Nome was this guy was doing this, this, and this, because that was the first initial word that came out. Remember what we said, and I've said this to you probably 100 times already in a couple weeks. Wait 24 to 48 hours to see what the information is. Instead, within a couple hours, Nome was out there calling this guy this, that, the other. He was just he was a guy. Yes, he was pushing the police. He was pushing them, right, and he's getting back at him. He wasn't giving up, but he was not a terrorist. He didn't come there, it appears, in any way, shape, or form trying to kill anybody or do anything like that. And that's kind of what she said that he was saying or he was doing, and that's not what happened. So whoever did that's going to be in trouble, obviously. No, wasn't a murder. They weren't trying to kill the guy. They thought they were getting shot at. It appears. If it looks like what happened in the video, it looks like what happened in the video. Um, and we wish it never happened. But if we stop fighting back against the police, these things don't happen. Um, and that's what kind of happened in this situation. And right or wrong, either way, guy had the right to be there. He had the right to protest. He does not have the right to attack the police. He does not have the right to resist arrest. He does not have the right to fight back. Regardless of what you think he has the right to do, he doesn't have any of those rights. And occasionally something like this will happen. And it's a shock to all of us because we don't want any of it to happen, right? None of it to happen. It says here Melania Trump issues rare political statement after the deadly shootings. And this may be why President Trump has as soon as President Trump started getting more information in, he switched. He said, "This isn't good. We don't like this." But First Lady Melania Trump issued a rare political statement calling for unity after weeks of deadly riots in Minnesota amid the president's immigration crackdown. She says, "I'm against the violence, so please, if you protest, protest in peace." Right? She said this on Fox and Friends on Tuesday morning during an appearance to promote her upcoming movie, and you've probably seen some highlights of that here and there. Melania, she is an immigrant from Slovenia, said the president had a great call with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, both Democrats, on Monday, and we've heard good news from both sides on that. She said, "My husband, the president, had a great call with the governor and the mayor, and they're working together to make it peaceful and without riots." So hopefully that's going forward. We need to unify in these times. Video showed 8 agents surrounding Preddy and tackling him to the ground. The nurse who was carrying a licensed firearm appeared to have been disarmed before he was shot 10 times in less than 5 seconds. And that's one or two or three guys shooting, thinking they're getting shot at. And you notice they were all backing up and getting away from him at the same time because they think they're getting shot at. But the killing came less than 3 weeks after Renee Good had been shot when she appeared to try to run over an agent. She hit him and bumped him and was right at him. And so we're going to hear more and more about this. But then people went and attacked a hotel with agents in it, or they thought were agents in it, and then they started attacking buildings. That's the stuff. And I heard this yesterday on some podcast somewhere. Martin Luther King would not have accepted what happened to that guy, but he also would not have accepted the aggression towards the officers. He was for peaceful protests, and we're all for peaceful protests. Stop attacking the police and the people who are just trying to do their jobs, which is getting rid of people who are felons. Okay, they're getting rid of felons. They're not getting rid of Joe Smuckatelli sitting on the street corner unless he does something. Generally speaking, they're just grabbing the people who are on lists, and they are getting thousands of them. Many of them for rape, many of them for murder, drugs, all kinds of different things that have happened that apparently no one seems to care about. We only care about the one guy who's getting arrested and sent back to Somalia or back to Honduras, right? For some reason, we worry about them, the felons, but we don't worry about the people that they are affecting in any way, shape, or form. I've not heard one person on the left say anything about anybody hurt from these people that they're trying to arrest and send back. Now, there's a problem, don't you think? None of you care about Laken Riley, that she died and was killed by an illegal alien? Okay. It's the bad people. Get the bad people out. The good people can stay. Most of us agree on that. That's why I do believe we are going to see some kind of amnesty in the next year to two because President Trump is going to run that. You watch. He sees himself as being the guy that will run the amnesty, and it will annoy some people on the right. That's for sure. But I feel like I lean right. I'm in the middle pretty good, but I lean right. I'm all for amnesty. Anybody who's here that's been great and good to the country, let's get them in the system. Let's get them paying taxes, get them working, doing all the things to make our country great. Have them come into the United States of America and make America great as it always has been. But let's get rid of the criminals. At the very least, we put them in jail, even if it's here. Something. Come on, folks. There's got to be some give and take. There can't be these people are terrible. These ICE agents are terrible. They're just trying to get people off the streets. You notice there's only one place that this is happening, actually two, if you count Portland, right? There's only two places, and in both places they are attacking the police in one, and they're pushing and the police constantly. These same activities are going on in Miami. They're going on in Atlanta. We're not seeing anything like this in Chicago either, are we? They're going on in different places around the country. No one's attacking the police, and there's no activity, there's no problems, is there? So you got to kind of look at yourself and step back and say, maybe I can protest without pushing the police. Just a thought process there. An easy thought process for me. It seems easy to me. Um, but if an officer comes to me and asks me to stop and uh, I go and do what he tells me to do because he's a police officer, right? Maybe that's the Marine in me being told by somebody to do something, but instead of me doing it. But generally speaking, if an officer comes to me and asks me a question about a certain thing, I'm going to do whatever he asked me to do. And I'm not going to fight him. I'm not going to yell at him um, and scream at him and push him around. And we've seen everything. I've seen people grabbing officers' weapons. I don't know how that guy didn't get shot. I saw that video, but and all we saw was a tussle with the officer trying to push the guy off of him. And then someone said, "Well, hey, take a look at the entire video, and you see the guy grabbing the officer's weapon." Now, that guy's lucky he's still alive because there are many guys. If you grab their weapon, they would have stepped back and maybe shot you, thinking that you're trying to do something. Obviously, right? Well, what was the video that was put out to the public? The video was put out to the public was the officer whose weapon was grabbed was the officer who was fighting back and knocking the guy down and getting him away from him. That's what the video was shown. Instead of the first video showing the guy grabbing his weapon. Okay. So, first off, why was he grabbing the officer's weapon? Why was he pushing the officer? Right? You can still protest loudly without pushing officers, stopping traffic, and doing all the different things, burning buildings, and that kind of thing, right? You have a right to do that. I want to hear your side if that's what you're going to do. I'm not gonna listen to you if you're just screaming and yelling and fighting the police. To me, that says children. That's what that says. That's not a protest. That's children fighting back. Give me my ice cream. Give me my ice cream. Sorry. Sorry, Papa Burton popped in there for a moment. So, all right. So back to Kristi Noem. She's in trouble, right? So Trump's going to send in Tom Homan. And he did that yesterday, and he has not been involved in that area so far, but knows and likes many of the people there. So Tom has some people he knows. The mayor thinks that's pretty good. The governor thinks that's a good deal. Attorney General Pam Bondi's deputy Todd Blanche pushed back when asked Monday whether he agrees with Noem's claim that Preddy's actions amounted to the legal definition of domestic terrorism. He said, "Look, I don't think anybody thinks that they were comparing what happened on Saturday to the legal definition of domestic terrorism." But after trying to deflect the question by criticizing his Democratic leadership, that's kind of where he went. He said, "You're right to the extent there's body cam or other videos that witnesses are still providing to us. So I'm not describing it as anything except for a tragedy," he added. And not all of us, regardless of what you think, I started seeing people pour out on the internet immediately that this guy was murdered and all this stuff was happening. And again, they didn't wait 24 to 48 hours, started to see other angles, see other things happening. And while they are correct in the fact that this man should not have been shot, he was not murdered. This was not on purpose. This appears to maybe have been an accident, and that does not give anybody any takeaway because the same thing with the car. If I'm that officer in front of the car, I don't think I shoot the woman. I get hit and bumped and try to get away from the car. But That's me, right? I hadn't been in the situation that officer had been in before. These officers are the same thing. They're wrestling this guy. All of a sudden, they hear gun, 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 and the gun goes off, and they shoot thinking they're getting shot at. Now, go to the internet and look at the video that was put out 5 or 6 months ago about this exact same weapon that this man had, this handgun that he had. And this guy shows a video where he can tap the top of it and the round goes off on its own. Not no trigger, no nothing. And he does it like 3 times in a row apparently to show that this weapon has a problem. And so if this officer picks his gun up and it goes off on its own like it did, or he had stuck his finger in there accidentally, uh, put a round downrange, hitting into the pavement or something, that may have triggered what happened. Now, who's at fault with that? Is there a fault? Is that just an accident? I don't know. I don't know where you go with that. Um, for me, the guy should not have been shot. That's for sure. Somebody needs to pay some way or another. Um, and it looks like Christy Nome for sure because she popped out there right away calling him a domestic terrorist was wrong. And she's going to, lose kind of some footing of where she was in this whole thing. And then Homan's going to come in and take over. Everybody knows what Homan's going to do, right? He's going to get in your face and he's going to tell you, I'm getting the bad guys. And that's what he's doing. He's getting the bad guys primarily. So, uh, ooh, there's some breaking news. I got to hit this one right here, guys. Breaking news. U.S. military war room jet spotted leaving Washington, D.C. as unrest grips the nation. That's not why. Well, that's just a side note. The U.S. Air Force's Boeing C-40B Clipper is currently flying west after departing Washington, D.C. Tuesday morning on an undisclosed mission. The aircraft, often described as an airborne war room or flying office, is used to transport high-priority personnel, including cabinet members, combat commanders, and senior military leaders. And the first thing I say is thank you for telling Iran that we're going to bomb them. That's the first thing I say when I see this, unfortunately. Flight tracking sites show clip, but they've got their stuff on, their transponders on. They left Camp Springs, home to Joint Base Andrews, and the aircraft is now soaring through the Midwest, passing over Missouri and Kansas. This was right now. This just came out. No public destination is listed. Officials have not explained the purpose of the flight. Of course, it's just happening. So maybe there is no thing. Maybe it was going to get a wash somewhere, or they're getting it repainted. Something could be as simple as that. Or maybe they're picking people up and something's happening. So we'll have to see what happens with that. And then I've got a picture here. It just kind of shows it leaving Washington, cuts straight across West Virginia, Cincinnati, Louisville, getting ready to go over St. Louis, and heading out. So it's heading west right now. It's at 34,000 feet. Nothing's uncommon here. The speed's 400 miles an hour. So I'm not sure why we're getting all that. Generally, it typically carries between 26 and 32 people. And it's a VIP seating, but there are work tables and other accommodations for distinguished visitors. And it can fly across the country. While the mission is unlikely to be tied to current events in the U.S., yes, obviously. Why did they try to tie it into that? I'm trying to figure that out. Yep, that's exactly what they did. They're trying to tie this into the story about the shooting, and they wrapped it into that. So why is everything after that? To me, this is a story about Iran and the potential to bomb Iran, not what's happening in the United States right now. I think most of you see that way too, right? This plane flying has anything to do with what's going on in the unrest up in Minnesota. So, all right. So what do we got else we got going on the news? It's 10:09 right now. 10:09 in the morning. Let's see what's the temperature. Temperature is 16 right now. We're headed to maybe close to 20, somewhere right in there. It is very windy still, 16 miles an hour, wind chill at 0 to -5. Tonight it's going to be even colder, and it's going to be windy again tonight, although they will die down compared to what they are now. So that's good news on that front. So 16 degrees right now outside. A cold week ahead. What else do we got for storms? Of course, the death toll now climbs to 34 after the brutal freezes batters the U.S., right? And we've had problems with that. We know that. There's plenty of cold weather still coming. That's what the forecasters are warning. That's what I'm warning, right? But over 30 deaths, 34 officially at the moment. Still 525,000 people across the country were still without power as day broke on Tuesday, with more than 100,000 customers out in Tennessee. Tennessee got ice, lots of ice, and that brought down power lines, trees, things like that. Um, Dangerous wind chills as low as -50 will persist, and much below normal temperatures may continue into early February. And of course, that just depends on where you're at. For us, I see -20s pretty easily. We aren't going to get into the -10 or 20 range for actual temperatures with a strong gusty wind, which would create -40 or -50 wind chills. But we are going to be very cold ourselves. And we do have a warning out right now for tonight and tomorrow. And that warning is a cold weather advisory from 10 p.m. tonight till 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then I can see them redoing that again tomorrow for the next day and so on and so forth, depending on winds. And I'll get back into the weather here in just a little bit, right? We'll cover all the weather forecasts again. Um, what else happened in this? There was a state of emergency declared in just about every state that was on the map. The heavy snowfall has made shoveling conditions difficult. Ours was very light snow because we were in the really, really cold. But if you're down near Louisville, that snow was wet and heavy. That's for sure. And those folks are struggling with that. And we have problems. People go out, have a heart attack when they're doing that kind of thing. Police said snowplows backed into two people in Massachusetts. Um, Two people were killed in sledding accidents, one in Arkansas and another in Texas. Oh my gosh. I don't know if they hit a tree or went out into traffic, doesn't say. A man in Mississippi died when an ice laden tree limb fell on him through his roof of his mobile home. 86-year-old man was found dead in his home, along with at least one of his pets. And a father of two died of carbon monoxide poisoning. And those are just some of the stories. Those are some of the things we've warned you about for years and years and years, especially if you've been around a while and you've heard about these things. Every year it takes some people, right? Every year. More people die in cold than die in heat. Remember that. More people die in the cold than die in heat. So it also talks a little bit in the story about the 6 people were killed in a private jet crash in Maine. 6 or 7. I think one person has survived. Uh, so there was that plane crash. And total authorities in Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, and South Carolina have since reported one weather-related death each, and 2 fatalities were reported in each of Arkansas, Massachusetts, and Mississippi. I have not seen anything from Indiana so far, and I am grateful for that. Areas as far south as Florida and the Panhandle in southern Georgia will be seeing morning wind chills reach the teens and single digits, very unnormal for them. Having been in South Carolina for 15, 20 years myself, when I was with the Antarctic program, we didn't see snow very often. And when we did, it crippled the place, which was pretty fun because I was from the Midwest and go out driving in it with no problems, but nobody else would leave or go anywhere. So obviously, the cold weather is coming in right behind the system, and it's just going to be reinforced over the next week or two. And it's probably going to be February before we see another temperature above freezing. And we're shooting for next Tuesday or Wednesday. Was that the second or third or fourth? Don't know my dates at the moment. So that'll be the time frame is next week on that. So the cold did some pretty good damage across the country for lots of people, and unfortunately, we've lost over 30 people so far. And doesn't look like anybody in the state of Indiana at the moment, but that you're still with people out shoveling and doing things. There's still some potential out there. If you can help your neighbor and you're more able than them, and you want to do that, that would be great. Your family, anybody you thinks needs to be taken care of. So, what else we got going on? I'm trying to see if there's any big news on Iran right now. When it goes deathly quiet and you don't hear anything for a few days, you have to start wondering if we're ready to do something. So, um, I just saw a tennis player breaking her racket apart. She lost and she was upset. Um, Nothing. I'm not seeing anything on Iran right now, which is kind of, like I said, interesting. It's been a couple days. It's been quiet, and nobody's talked about them. Uh, with planes in the air, potentially things like that, it might be a little different. And We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens on that front because I think we're definitely going to see something eventually on the front of Iran and us doing something to help the people there. But the deathly quiet since like Sunday makes me wonder if Iran is preparing for to get bombed and us to bomb them or whoever it may be. So uh, what else is going on here? Gavin Newsom's ballyhooed $236 million mental health push helps only 22 people in 4 years. You got to be kidding me. $236 million on 22 people. Oh, and they wonder why we get upset about things, right? That was the Christy Nome story again. Winter storm, death tolls. Okay, so I kind of covered all those highlights. Let's get back to some weather here real quick. I'm going to go back. I'm going to pop out to the charts for you guys so you can see what we're looking at, and then we'll go straight into some of those charts that you guys like to see. Starting with the current weather at 16 degrees Fahrenheit. And this thing is going to show you a little bit of the forecast for the week, right? Shows you a high of only 17 today. I think we might hit 18. We got enough sun out there that we may get a little bit out of it, but there's nothing here until Sunday to get above 20. So you're talking mid-teens to upper teens just about every day, even the low teens on Thursday. And look at your lows, -2 tomorrow, -2. Every model's a little different, but the one they're taking this information from is showing that. Not much for cloud cover over us at all. I'm going to go out to the calendar one they show here, and you see to the end of the month, there's not much there at all. So the 31st is what? Is that Sunday? Losing track of my days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, so the 31st is Saturday. The 1st will be February. Let's take a look what the models say here. And sometimes you just get canned data. In other words, it's kind of just eventually it goes to just the averages. But right now, we've got models that will go out a month, maybe not that accurate, but they at least go out that time frame. And the first chance to get to 30, and I would say next Tuesday, the 3rd of February, just after Groundhog Day, which looks cloudy for us. 30. And then we got a 37 on Thursday and Friday next week. And then look what happens. Here comes some more cold, reinforcing the week after. We're back down into the teens, maybe even some negative numbers. And then we're back up to 40. The first time we got a chance to hit 40, it says, is the 14th. Now, next Friday, Thursday, Friday, when we're at 37 here, I would not be surprised we hit 40 there. Just generally speaking, I like to bump the temperatures from the models a couple degrees. Usually that's pretty accurate, depending on cloud cover, sunshine. If we get a little more sun those 2 days, we might hit 40. So there's a possibility next week. But then reinforcing cold, another quick little warm shot, and more cold for the rest of the month. So only maybe a handful of days above the average. So let's say the beginning of February, the average high is probably 34, 35 in Lafayette. There's one day there. And 2 on Thursday and Friday next week, then nothing for a week. Now, by the time you get to the middle of February, your high is up to like 37, 38 for your average high. And we're only going to get to that maybe once, 41, most of the month below average. And then we go look at this chart here, the one I like so much. Here's today, up and down when you look at that. The dashed lines right here are your lows on average and your highs on average for the year, starting back out in March, going all the way to February. And then it's going to give us about a month of what it thinks is going to happen. That's why I like this chart pretty well. Now I'm going to focus on today. Today it says the daily high is 17 and the average is 34. And you notice it shows us basically right at the bottom, right where we normally see our coldest in the last week, probably. And historically, the daily low is 17. So 34 and 17 are your highs and lows for today. And what we saw over the last, well, what we're going to see over the next few days is way below normal temperatures for a week. Then a warm up, then a drop, then a warm up, then a drop, then a warm up kind of thing, looking very haphazard. But on average, look at this. Only 1 or 2 of the temperatures get above normal for the highs on a couple days. And that's the February 5th, 6th time frame, and back again out on February 14th. So all the temperatures below normal for the month of February. At least that's what it's shaping up to look like as of right now. What you do see is volatility, though, like in the spring, when you go back out here to the left side of the chart, You see lots of ups and downs in the spring. You're steadier in the summer, and this summer was actually below normal for temperatures on the average. In the winter and the fall, first you get some up and down again, and then the winter just gets cold and steady. But we had some big ups and downs in January and in December where we had temperatures below zero back on December 14th. And here we are again the last few days, some temperatures below zero, far below what the average is for this time of the year. So I kind of like this chart, gives me a good idea that this is going to be a lot of cold here. Tendencies on long range forecast, we use tendencies. There's really the best way to go about it. Not it's exactly going to be, 32 degrees on February 6th. No, look for the tendencies. Is it getting warmer? Is it getting colder? This time of the year, if it's getting warmer, that's probably going to draw up moisture from the south. Could that mean more snow? If it's getting colder, that means systems that come from that direction are usually cold. They don't hold as much snow. They're coming out of Canada with no water source, generally less snow. We call a lot of those Alberta clippers. They go through pretty quickly when they do go through. All right. So let's take a look at the satellite. We're zoomed in now. We see a lot of the clouds leaving us. The white colors that you're seeing right there is basically the infrared shot of the ground right now. You also see that there was some very cold temperatures here to the south of us this morning. Look how blue this is, doesn't move. Those are temperatures that were actually colder than us. Of course, we were in the teens down south in the state. They were probably below zero again, and it looks like they're going to see that again tomorrow along with us. Most of the state will be below zero tomorrow morning, temperature-wise. So nothing for cloud cover. Sunny skies are close to it. You can probably see some of these clouds out on the horizon, but generally speaking, pretty good. Let's go out a little bit. Let's go to the regional sector just to show everything. And what I see is nothing out here. I see a lot of cold air to the north up near Wisconsin and Minnesota. We are right about here on the chart. That's where Lafayette is. And there's nothing in between us and these high clouds just coming off the Rocky Mountains. And those are just high clouds. That means a big old high is centered somewhere right in this part of the country, reinforcing our cold. As you can see, the flow is coming from the northwest by these clouds up in Wisconsin and Minnesota that are coming this direction. You can kind of see the flow, the airflow, the pattern. And then it kind of turns and cuts across the lake. And then there's lots of lake effect snows off the backside of Lake Michigan here today and through tomorrow, probably. And for us, we're in the open, and that allows for very cold temperatures, especially tonight. It's very windy right now, although it will slow down as the day goes. And it appears that we will be a bit better, although it's going to be very cold tomorrow morning. In that front, at least is the way it looks like. So there's your satellite. Let me change it over to the day cloud phase and see if we can pick up something at the end right there. Yeah. Oh, good. We can pick up some of the snow cover pretty easily. All right. So I'm zoomed in now. I'm going to zoom into us. You can still see the high clouds coming off the mountains. You can see some of the clouds coming off of Lake Michigan and over Ohio right now that just passed through. But let's go in closer. Let's go into Lafayette itself, or close to northern Indiana. And awesome. Look at this. You can see the rivers very well stand out the darkness, but this is all snow on the ground. Everybody's got snow on the ground. There was a pocket here south of Indianapolis. There's more trees here, so you're seeing more trees, right? And less snow on the ground. And you're seeing some darkness. Maybe the snow wasn't as heavy there also, but you can see this very easily standing out now. Clouds streaming away from us, right? I don't have any movement on this at all right now. And here's Lafayette, right? So you can see the river very easily. You can see a lot of the things around it that stand out pretty easily. So a pretty cool picture. And in the next hour, we'll start picking up even more and you'll see more. So when you see here, it's going from the night to the day. That's why you all of a sudden start to see snow popping up. Oh, the sun comes up and we start to see it. Now, the colors are enhanced a little bit so you can pick the things out easier. So the snow isn't white. It's got this little, light green tinge to it or something there. I'm colorblind, can't tell you. I can just tell it is different. The clouds are white. The lower clouds especially, you can see very much in white. The high clouds sometimes have a yellowish color to them. And the actual ground can be blue at times when it's open and a darker color than the snow that's on there right now. So pretty cool picture there. And let's send it back out to the IR just so you can kind of see the enhancement. Nope, wrong one. There you go. Kind of shows what we've been looking at. You can see the cloud streaming off towards the east right now. All right, so let's go back in. Let's look at the big picture. Let's start with local and what's happening quickly for temperatures. And I'm going to start with temperatures first off because that's our big playmaker today. Here's where we are this morning, Tuesday morning, right? 9Z kind of time. Right data. I don't think we're getting the right data at the moment. There we go. And this is more of the big 15. What time is it? It's 10. So it's right now, it's about 15, 16 Z. It shows a temperature of 17 in Lafayette. You can see the winds coming in. These are all 20 knot winds all the way up into Wisconsin. So it's very windy in this corridor right here. We could see the clouds that were coming off the lake on the satellite picture were right there. You can see the wind direction is identical to what it shows and what we saw the clouds streaming in Wisconsin were. These are all indicators, things we look at as weather guys to see if these models are actually accurate and that they're actually pulling what we are seeing, right? And it's cold everywhere pretty much. It's already the sun is coming up. We're into single digits to the north, -2 way up in Wisconsin's the coldest. This morning there was a pocket of cold south of us, and as the day goes on, we're just going to hang somewhere there 17, 18, 19 degrees. Enough sun, maybe we'll get to 15 or 20 is a possibility, but let's call it 18 somewhere right in there. And then we drop off tonight. Here we are. It's 7 o'clock this evening. It's 11 by 10 o'clock. Here we are at 9. Man, it's getting cold after midnight. There's midnight, 4 degrees. Now we're down to 2, 1 by 3 o'clock in the morning. It has us at 0 by that time frame. Winds out of the west, but look at the winds are very much down. We're now at 5 knots instead of the 15 to 20 that we are seeing now. So it'll be 0 to 1, right? Temperature wise, but with 5 knots of wind, that's only like a wind chill of -5 to -10, depending on the gust that you will see during that time frame. So very cold though overnight. -13 in Indianapolis, it's showing right now. And we go in, we watch it, and we cut across. And it gets a little warmer tomorrow. I think I'm going to zoom in here so we can see real close. How about that? That'll give you a better indicator of the temperatures. There we go. So back here we are going through the day. Lafayette is right here, so you can see it. Going through the day, 17, maybe 18, starting to cool off tonight. There we are. There's midnight, 4 degrees in Lafayette, but it's 1 in Crawfordsville and -5 in Indianapolis already. And because we're getting more of a westerly wind, it says we're going to be just a little warmer than them. I would not be surprised if the entire state ends up seeing below 0 tomorrow morning. It shows us by 3 o'clock at 0 and just hovers right around 0 for a few hours. There's -1 by 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we're going to be in that range right there, -1, -2, maybe a couple of us -4, -5. Cold, but the wind not quite as bad. Starting to pick up as the morning goes on a little bit, which is normal, right? We die a little bit at night. We get a little stronger during the day. So that's why the wind chill warning is still in effect. And if you take a look at it, and I hit it right here, it is in effect till 11 a.m., where this morning it was only in effect till 9 a.m. because the temperature was warmer for one. And even though the winds are stronger today than they were yesterday, tomorrow, couple the colder temperature with still a decent gusty wind. And you're going to go out till 11 o'clock tomorrow morning with the cold weather advisory. So we'll see what the schools do on that. I'm not sure what their rules are and what they use for cold temperatures and delaying 2 hours. There was a 2 hour delay for just about everybody today. Hopefully, my grandson has gotten up and gotten himself to the bus. As a matter of fact, hold on just a second. Let me go check on him. I'll be right back, guys. All right, good news on Gunner. He had got himself down to the bus on his own without Papa having to help him. That's pretty cool. All right, there we go. Um, 11 degrees for tomorrow, right? So there's where you are at there with a high temperature maybe tomorrow. Same thing, 17, 18 degrees. Nothing dramatic, very cold again. And then overnight, here it is. There go the temperatures again, dropping down. Negative pocket over the state of Indiana, us hovering around 0 to -1 or 2 in the morning tomorrow, Thursday morning. So Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, very cold temperatures, not much for cloud cover. We're not going to see a ton of snowfall at all anytime soon. We don't have any major systems moving in now. All just big high pressure kind of controlling us coming out of Canada, reinforcing the cold for a while until next week sometime, it looks like. So when I look at the precipitation and I just go to the type, look at this. There's just nothing there. It's all off the back of the lake. I'm going backwards now. So here we are this morning. Here's all the snow coming off the lake. Benton Harbor up to the north. You're going up towards Travis City, you're going to be seeing snow there everywhere. If you're going west, you're quiet and there's just nothing there. And then right towards the end of the period, here's Wednesday. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. No snow, no clouds. We're high pressure's in control. And then we see a little snow band come in, but that's going to miss us to the south on Thursday into Friday. So far is what it looks like. Let me change the NAM here. We can look at that time frame. And it doesn't even show it there. And there it is. It streaks in just to the south of us. But we do need to watch out for some snowfall. You know, we all know about lake effect snows. If you're up near the lake, you get heavy snowfall. I'm from LaPorte. It's right about here. We got heavy snowfall all the time from lake effect snows. May have been one of the things that got me interested in the weather, I'm pretty sure. And but at times, some of that snow can get down to Lafayette. Now, we rarely get much of any accumulation. It's just lots of flurries, a little light snow. It's more annoyance than it is anything else. You're talking very little accumulations, like a trace to a dusting is all you're really going to see most of the time out of that. But it looks like during this time frame, which is Thursday night over Friday, the winds are going to be just about right to kind of get to us. You can see it there. And that could be just with the kink in here, makes me think there's a little low, some weak little trough trying to come down out of the north around that system. And then it bumps through, especially with the movement there. You see the movement of this going here being less of a lake effect and more of a small little trough trying to move through Thursday night into Friday. So we'll keep an eye on that one. It even gets a little bigger there. And this is the new 12Z. So let's go out a little bit. This is the new one for the NAM. Oh, thought I hit the sector right. There we go. Okay, so now you can see it. There's some snow up to the north. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's go back a little bit. So there we are. We're getting some lake effect snows coming down towards us, but not much of anything to think about. And then the high is off to our northwest, way up over here, up over northern Minnesota, up on the left side of the chart there. And then out of the north, swinging around the high, comes some moisture, some little trough that's kicking through. You can see it cut across. First, it's over the north, then boom, it's heading south, and then by the end of the period, Friday into Saturday, it's pushed some things down towards us on January 31st. So Thursday into Friday, it kicks that little wave of stuff. We'll keep an eye on that, see what happens with that. That's an odd direction for weather to come for us. But that's something we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on. Let's see if the European model says anything about that at all. And it shows some snow up there coming off the lake, but that looks more like lake effect to me, but we'll see. There's a little bit more up here. You can see up to the north, that same time frame as the other ones. So Thursday into Friday, we'll watch that, but it doesn't look like much now. And the European model doesn't even bring anything into us until that would be Sunday night into Monday. And when I switch over to the GFS, it actually pushes it back a couple hours. It looks like it's farther back to the northwest. So you can see how models can vary a little bit on timing. And that would be more of a Monday event, this one, for the GFS. But it does show, both models show something trying to come in. We'll call it Sunday night into Monday right now, and we'll figure that out as we get closer there. So that's your next chance for decent snow, maybe. I wouldn't even call that decent snow. As that goes through, boom, boom, boom. Let's see what it says for snow totals here. Boom, winter snow total accumulation. It's even over this entire period, it only shows us getting like an inch. And most of that is just with that last system right there as it goes through. Oh, there's a little bit of snow way out next week, February 7th. When's the date? Okay, it shows a wave coming through, giving us about 3 or 4 inches on February 5th, next Thursday. So it'd be Wednesday night into Thursday, and then nothing, just nothing. Half an inch here or there. Let's take a look at the runs and see where the actual precipitation is coming from, and you'll see it come across. There's that good system right there, the one I talked about, which gave us a little bit of warmth, and that is the one from middle of next week, Wednesday night into Thursday. And that's the one that'll give us a chance for about 3 or 4 to 5 inches of snow. And you notice the trajectory where it's coming from and the angle, very similar to the West Texas low. And let's check out there and see if that's where this starts. Let's go back a couple days. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, you can see it kind of forming out here and pushing its trough out to the north. And again, now here we are on trajectory, right? On this low, and what is it going to do? Is it going to drag us to the south? Is it going to be warm enough to bring up some rain, or is it going to be snow? And when I go back and look at it, and we switch back over the sector back to us, right? I'm going to zoom in close this time. And we're going to push that through. It says 4 inches of snowfall, right? But let's take a look at the temperatures. What are we getting for temperatures for that time frame? And we're borderline right at 30. Now, the entire atmosphere is very cold. It's been cold. But if we get right there, 34, 35, depending on how the atmosphere is stacked, we could be getting rain out of this instead of snow, which is probably more of an ice thing than it is anything else for us to worry about, right? Ice because of how cold it is. But that is next Thursday. So next Wednesday night into Thursday, we'll watch another low come out of Texas, bring up some warmth. This one is a little farther north than the last one. We'll have to see. Long ways out. Remember when I saw it the week before, the big storm that just came through? I told you the same thing. It's a long ways out. It was hard to tell where the track was going to be. And the track has everything to do with the amount of snowfall we get, how cold it gets, and all of the factors of wind and that kind of thing, especially this time of the year. Same thing with thunderstorms when we get into that kind of information. All right. I'm just checking to see that Gunner's good. Gunner got on the bus. Those of you who know Gunner, that was the grandson I just went and looked at a little bit ago. Yep, there he is. I can see him on the bus. Isn't that cool? Some of these apps they have now for you can follow the kids and see where they're at. All right. Just wanted to make sure I could still see him. And make sure that I'm still live on YouTube. All right. So hopefully you're coming here to get your forecast every day. You're wanting to see all the charts. You're wanting to see all the information. I don't think a lot of the guys do a great job. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love my fellow comrades in arms, weather-wise. I love them. They do a great job, a lot of them. But I'm showing you just about all the charts we kind of use and what we go through. Kind of the idea. I try to teach at the same time. I think most of you would like that. I'm telling you what about the flow around the highs and what's here and how much are we going to get of this and why do I look at that? And that comes from 40 years experience forecasting weather now. So it's been a long time. I even taught it a bit when I was in the Marine Corps. Enjoyed that very much. So I think the wife liked Mississippi. It was in Mississippi at Keesler Air Force Base where I taught. The Air Force was there, the Marine Corps was there, and the Navy were there teaching weather, meteorology, weather forecasting, observing, that kind of thing. And enjoyed those last couple years of my career before I retired out on disability. So really, and then was able to still do weather afterwards. Very blessed by God to have to be able to do a job, even though I'm hurt, and to do it for 30 more years afterwards. It's getting rough now. Not working much anymore at all. and just getting out of bed some days is pretty tough. You guys know that. So coming to sit here is a good thing for me. I'm able to talk to you guys, talk a little weather, talk a little bit about God, talk a little bit about current events. I haven't even talked about sports, which is coming up next. All right. As soon as we're done with this. So there's the long range forecast. I pretty much showed you everything about what we're talking about and about the storm that went through, at least on that front. So let's pop back out. There you go. You wanted to see me again. I know you did. All right. Not everybody, but right now, chat with me if you're out there. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm getting ready to talk some sports. I haven't talked sports at all. It's 10:40. That's got to be a miracle for me. Going almost 2 hours without talking about what's been happening at Purdue, and maybe that's because I've been bummed out because the Purdue men have lost 2 games in a row. But there was a great game for the women. They won, and they beat who? You got it. They beat Indiana. And when they beat Indiana over the weekend, they won. What's the name of that trophy? Let me see if I can find it here for you guys. So we know the gals have been in. They're in a building period, right? Basically, not quite great yet, but they're good. They've had some really good wins, and Katie Geralds is trying to do a great job building this team back up. She notches her career win number 300 the other day, and Purdue hosts the trophy, and the trophy is called what? For the Indiana Purdue women's game, the Barn Burner Trophy. It was up for grabs on Sunday, and yes, the ladies went and got it done. They won a ball game on Sunday, and that was the one that Katie Gerald's got her 300th win. And they won the game 80-69. First quarter was down a little bit. They were down 15-11 after the first quarter, but man, they put a whooping on Indiana in the second quarter, 30-14. So that 4-point turned into a 4-point deficit turned into a 12-point lead for them. And then in the third quarter, Indiana came back 25-21. In the fourth quarter, Purdue won it 18-15 to win by 11, 80-69. They shot 49%, 50% from three-pointers. Nice. So the Barn Burner Trophy returned to West Lafayette for the first time since 2016 as the Purdue women's basketball team defeated in-state rival 80-69 Indiana. So the win was the 300th of head coach Katie Gerald's career. All kinds of Boilermakers did great stuff. They were led by Nia Smith's 13 points with a trio of three-pointers, and Madison Layden-Zay finished with 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. Had some friends there at the game. They shot out some pictures, even though there was it was snowing pretty good. They went and got to the game, and that was pretty cool to see that. Purdue dished out 21 assists on 27 made field goals. Really good. And that was Layden-Zay's third straight game with at least 6 helpers. Man, that's pretty cool. She did a great job. Purdue forced Indiana into 20 turnovers to score 27 points off of that, while they allowed just 13 points on 15 offensive miscues of their own. Despite losing the rebounding battle 31-24, Purdue surrendered just 4 points on 10 second chance opportunities for Indiana. So Indiana had some chances, but they couldn't do it. And 35 of Purdue's points came off the bench. Awesome. The men's team has a great solid bench that comes off, scores like 20 a game. The women, 35. That is impressive right there. Very nice. The second quarter statement, it says here, some of the highlights of the game. The Boilermakers surged in the second quarter to take control of the game, winning the game and the frame 30-14. So way to go, ladies. We got a big win for the ladies on Sunday. What's up next for them? The ladies will welcome Michigan State to Mackey on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And that's on the Big Ten Network if you're wanting to watch that. And the Boilermakers will go for their first home win over an AP top 15 team since December 4th, 2011 against number 4, Texas A&M. I long for the days where the ladies were winning the national championship back when I was at WLFI 25 years ago. I don't remember which year it was. Someone's got to get with me and chat with me and tell me what year the women won the national champion. I've said that before, and I just haven't gone and looked it up. All right. Men-wise, well, what's happening with the men? Well, the men have a game tonight at 9 o'clock. It's downstate in Bloomington. It's at Indiana. It's on Peacock. All right. They are coming off 2-game loss, right? They lost to UCLA last week, and then they lost to Illinois on Saturday at home. At home. Obviously, it's going to be on the Peacock. John Fanta, Robbie Hummel, Caroline Panetta will be your announcers for that. And on radio, Rob Blackman and Bobby Rydell. All right. So, what's going to be happening? Purdue's now kicking off another 2-game road swing. So, it was 2 games on the road, 1 at home. These 2 games on the road, there'll be 1 at home, and then 2 games on the road again. Remember, I told you all the games in February mean something too. This was going to be a gauntlet at the end of January going into February where they would have like 10 games in a row where every single game meant something and every single team was going to be a possible loss. That started with going out to USC and UCLA, and they lost one of those out there. Then it came home to play Illinois at home, a top 10 team. Both teams top 10 at the time, right? Now Purdue has fallen to 12th. Remember, I told you, I think it was back on Thursday, if they lost the game on Saturday, they would drop to 11th or 12th. That's how it would work out because they didn't give them the respect to move them up at times when other teams in front of them did it because people still don't believe in them yet at this point, which means you got to go out and prove yourself again, right? Which is not a good thing to tell Braden Smith. That's like putting a little battery on his shoulder and saying, knock it off, right? Knock that battery off my shoulder. And then he's going to prove to you that you can't do it and he can beat you, right? So they're kicking off this second stint of the 6 games, which is the 3rd and 4th game. And then they'll come home for a game and then 2 more on the road before they get a few more at home. They've lost back-to-back games for the first time this season. Both losses coming by fewer than 6 points after Purdue held leads late in the contest. They were up by 6 against UCLA with a minute and a half left, and they lost. And the other one, they were up 4 or 5. And at one point, both games, they had double-digit leads in the first half. So the Boilermakers and Hoosiers are meeting for the first of 2 meetings this year. Of course, the second one comes on February 20th in Mackey, but tonight's game is down in Indianapolis. They will go to Maryland on Sunday. So it'll be an afternoon matinee, and it is on CBS. So hopefully I'll be able to see that then. All right, here's the matchup. Purdue and Indiana will meet for the 222nd time in series history, with Purdue holding a 128-93 series advantage. The series is the most frequently played rivalry among original Big Ten members, but is now behind Washington and the Oregon series, which has 318 games, and UCLA-USC, which has 265 team games. So that's been their part of the Big Ten now. I'm getting a lot of this information straight off the Purdue Athletics site and the PurdueSports.com site if you want to go see some of this. The Boilermakers have won 3 of the last 4 meetings against Indiana and 16 of the last 21 contests. But if you talk to Indiana, they're the ones that swept us 3 years ago, right? So that's how they look at it. I look at them as they're national champions in football, but basketball, they're not cutting it lately. However, Indiana has won 3 of the last 4 meetings in Bloomington, defeating a ranked Boilermaker squad in each of those 3 contests. And of course, Purdue's been number 1 off and on for years now. Purdue will be facing Indiana as a ranked team for the 10th straight meeting. And Purdue is just 8-17 as a ranked team against Indiana. I mean, this is a rivalry. You got to expect that, right? The game will feature 10 players that reside from the state of Indiana. There are 7 of them on Purdue and 3 of them on the Indiana squad. Well, if you hear Indiana fans, they should all be coming to Indiana, but somehow Purdue has 7. They only have 3. Fletcher Lawyer is averaging 14 points per game in 6 games against Indiana, having made 6 straight 3-pointers in Bloomington, spanning 2 games. Let's hope he goes for 6 tonight and makes it 12 in a row, right? Kind of like that guy was shooting on Saturday for Illinois, which I didn't even get into about that. The guy that played so great on Saturday and just kept scoring and scoring. Purdue is looking to right the ship after 2 losses against UCLA. Obviously, they lost that one 69-67, and then they lost to Illinois 88-82. The Boilermakers held leads of 6 and 5 at the final media time out of both of those losses, but could not close the deal. So, despite the 2 losses, right, Purdue owns the 3rd most quad wins in the country with 6. Purdue's 15 wins in the first 3 quads are the 2nd most nationally, behind only Michigan. And Purdue's 2 quad 4 games played are tied for the fewest in the country. again with Michigan, Boise State, and Alabama. In other words, we're playing a tough schedule. All right. Matter of fact, let's take a look at that on Ken Palm real quick here. What does Ken Palm say about Purdue's strength of schedule? So Purdue has dropped to 8th on Ken Palm. So they're number 2 in offense, and the defense has dropped to 30th. But their strength of schedule is number 9 in the country. So they're playing a tough schedule. When you play a tough schedule, you're going to lose some games, and you're going to play good teams all the time. Plus, when you're nationally ranked number in the top 10, everybody's trying to get you. Everybody's trying to give you their best game, right? But what seems to be happening is everything is kind of tight for about 10 minutes, and then Purdue takes a lead, but Purdue does not push it out there and give the killer's shot and take the game away from the other teams. That's what's been happening as of late. Now, it could be anything. I think Braden's hurt a little bit. Maybe his knee's starting to come back. Hopefully tonight he'll be looking a little better. He's still playing great, but he's just not quite there. But yet he looked awesome on Saturday, so you can't say much. They're saying Trey may have still a little bit of a hip problem, so he's struggling. Dings, bings, all those little bumps and bruises happen during a season, and you will be seeing that off and on with this team for the rest of the season as we get closer and closer. As a matter of fact, except for the broken leg from Jacobson last year, there's not been a real big problem with someone getting hurt on the Purdue team in the last 4 years. So, and these guys have played together for a long time. Fletch and Braden have played, I don't know, hundreds of games together. Trey's right there with them. These guys know what they're doing, but lately they just have not been able to get it done. All right. So Purdue is in the midst, and I've used this word big time, gauntlet of playing 6 games in an 8-game stretch away from Mackey. And their road games were against USC, UCLA, Indiana tonight, Maryland on Saturday or Sunday. Then they got to go to Nebraska next week and Iowa. So Purdue will play just 2 home games against Illinois, which they played on Saturday, right? And Oregon coming up next Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever day that is. So Purdue ranks in the top 25 nationally in assist turnover ratio. As a matter of fact, they are number 1. They are the second most efficient offense now, only to Illinois. That was great. The game on Saturday was good if you liked offense. Both teams scored easily. They worked the ball well. A lot of people are questioning Purdue's defense, allowing a guy to score 46 points. And yes, he was way behind the three-point line a lot, but he kept making them. Matter of fact, he made 9 of them. And that's why you probably lost the game, because you didn't stop that guy some way or somehow, right? They are assists per game. They're 3rd in the country. Field goal, they're 8th in the country. And turnovers per game, they're 10th in the country. They only had 3 turnovers. Matter of fact, here's the stat I found. Somebody on X had this. Purdue is the first team in 20 years to shoot 56%, score over 80 points, have 3 or less turnovers, and lose. Only the first team in 20 years to do that. That is amazing. All those great stats, all those stats you would think would win you ball games, but they lost the rebounding match, and they gave extra shots to Illinois, and Illinois used those extra shots to score points, and that's how it happened. Plus, Illinois got to the line way more than Purdue did, and those are your 2 big factors, and that's why they lost. Those 2 factors right there, probably. They'll work on it, try to work on the defense, try to not give up, try to get some more rebounds, and then we'll see what happens from there this week, especially tonight at an exciting game that isn't on until 9 o'clock. Purdue has been ranked in 71 straight AP polls, the second longest streak in the country, only behind Houston at 118. Duke is 3rd at 56. So there you go. Purdue, it even tells me Purdue's strength of schedule is ranked number 9 via Ken Palm. It currently marks the 3rd straight year and 6th time in the last 8 years that Purdue has played a top 12 schedule nationally. And there is a reason for that. Izzo set that moniker years ago, and Paint has picked it up and has run with it. Coach Paint. Coach Painter loves that kind of stuff. It makes your team better, that's for sure. Matt Painter is currently one of 4 coaches nationally to average 25 wins per season over the last 10 seasons. He is joined by Mark Few, Kelvin Sampson, and Bill Self on the list. Braden Smith needs 7 assists to move into the top 10 on the NCAA career assist list. And UNLV's Greg Anthony is 10th with 950 assists. Smith has 943 right now. My guess is he's going to get a dozen tonight again. So he only needs 34 points to become the 12th player in school history with 1,000 career points in Big Ten conference play itself. So a lot of good stats from Smitty there on that front. And I think he's gonna have a great game tonight. But he's a couple of the other guys who've been just not themselves, what we expect from them, and that's part of the season. But when two or three guys go like that, you got a chance to lose a ball game, and that's exactly what's happened the last two ball games, where not everybody's been copacetic and right on the money and sinking shots. And we'll see what happens with them, though. I'm excited. I'm still excited for another ball game. The season is going to be great. The March Madness is coming up, and we'll see if they can fight themselves into a national championship game later on this into April. So it starts in March, ends up in April, right? For the time frame on that. There's all kinds of news obviously going on. I'm going to get away from the sports now, at least for a little bit. Those are the big news sports-wise is Purdue. There's a lot of high school ball going on right now, too. They're getting ready for their, playoffs and their state championship runs here in the next couple of months. And that'll be exciting if you got some kids out there that are playing basketball right now. Baseball season's getting ready to get into the big swing. I know you're thinking January baseball, but high school baseball, they're probably doing some indoor workouts in places. The pros are getting themselves warmed up and ready to go. They're only 2 weeks away from catchers and pitchers reporting in baseball down in Mesa, Arizona for the Cubbies. That's my team. And I think a lot of you are Cubs fans around here too. So that's something to keep in mind for them. And it looks like the Cubs have made some pretty good moves bringing in Bregman to play for the Cubs. I'm excited about that. He'll take over for Tucker, who's leaving. And that'll put an anchor at third base, so to speak. I think he's going to play third most of the time, and Shaw will move to the bench. If you're a Cubs fan, you kind of keep track of that. Got to go to 2 games this last year and hadn't been to a game in 20 years or so. And they won both games. So as I've always said, if I'm the good luck charm for the Cubs, they should give me season tickets, and I'll go sit at the game 82 times or 81 times and watch some ball games. That'd be great. All right, so there we go. Oh, here's some more breaking news. More breaking news. What was the breaking news earlier was the plane was moving around, right, that we were talking about. Trump's ICE chief dragged into court over extraordinary immigrant violations. What kind of extraordinary immigrant violations are we talking about? The ICE chief was hit with a shocking order to appear before the chief federal judge of Minnesota by Friday to answer why he should not be held in contempt over the latest immigration crackdown in the state. You're going to have some problems here. This is where the state thinks they can overtake the federal and do whatever they want, right? Judge Patrick Schultz, who I've heard of before because he's done some stuff, he was appointed by President George W. Bush, told Todd Lyons, the director of ICE, that he needs to appear in court in his agency's extraordinary violations of court orders. I'm not sure what court orders he's violated. This is, again, where we get to the point where one judge thinks he can tell everybody what to do. And this is where they go judge shopping all the time. In this case, it's easy, Minnesota. Even though George Bush put him in, it's obvious which side of the aisle he's leaning towards, right? He said he ripped the ICE leader for sent. Now, he's already telling us what is going on because he's ripping the leader and talking about how bad the guy is for sending thousands of agents to the state as part of Trump's mass deportation. So you can already see where he's tilted to. He's not going to give an honest opinion of what's going to happen, right? He's not going to do that. He's going to give his opinion. And that's where one judge can change everything, supposedly. And both sides shop for judges. So the judge concluded the court's patience is at an end. An end for what? For people trying to get people who are criminals off the streets. Let's see, what else does it say? It talks about the 2 shootings. It did say Schultz did offer to avoid forcing Lyons to appear for his court summons if ICE quickly released an illegal immigrant who claims ICE agents wrongly detained him. Juan Hugo Tobe Robles, an Ecuadorian man who illegally entered the U.S. 30 years ago, has been in ICE custody since January 6th. Okay. Judge Schultz on January 14th ordered ICE officials to allow the Ecuadorian immigrant to challenge his detainment or release him within a week of the court order. On Monday night, the judge claimed ICE had failed to obey his instructions. All right. Okay. We haven't heard anything other than what the judge says at this point. It probably is a lawful order. I'm not sure what the feds can and have to do with the state telling them something to do. We'll have to figure that one out. This is one of dozens of court orders with which respondents have failed to comply in recent weeks, the judge wrote in his brief ruling. The practical consequence of respondents' failure to comply has almost always been significant hardships to the aliens, many of whom have lawfully lived and worked in the United States for years and done absolutely nothing wrong. Okay, you came in illegally, so you did do something wrong. But this is the case where if this guy has worked in the country, he's done good things for the country, I think we should be able to keep him here and get him into our system and pay taxes and do all that stuff, right? That's where I am in the situation. But if you're a criminal, we need to get you in jail or get you out of the country so that you don't do anything to anybody here that you shouldn't. Because it sure seems like the people on the left only see the illegal aliens and they never see the victims. They never see all the sex trafficking that happened for all these people to come into the country in the first place, where they say 40% of people who come into the country, and at times that was 2 million people per year under Biden. That means 800,000 people per year were sex trafficked as they came across the border from Mexico into the United States. Not one liberal ever says anything about that. I've never heard them say it. If you got it in there, tell me. Tell me about it. But you don't. You don't say anything about that. You just say they got the rights to come. Meanwhile, people are being abused. Okay? Let's find a way to get them here legally so they don't get abused. At the very least, do that much. If that means we jump our numbers to 2 million a year, whatever we settle on, that's fine. But don't sit there and be all high and mighty about me, about telling me that they're illegal when they come into the country, and you ignore the fact that most of them have been sex trafficked when they come in. Almost all the women. That is amazing that you don't seem to think that that's a problem. And that's been the one thing that's really stuck with me through this whole thing. People coming into the country is great. I'm all for that. But the way they're coming in is illegal, first off. So they're breaking the law when they're coming in. But second off, a lot of them are being abused, and you don't seem to care about that. It's just okay to get them in here so we can get them to vote for us. And that's what most people think is happening. You're sending and allowing people to come in just so you can get them to vote. So you can count them as numbers in California or wherever. Okay? That's not the reason to bring folks in. Bring the folks in if they want to come and work and they want to be good citizens of the United States. That's great. Get them in here. And if they're here already, let's just have them pay a fine if they're good people and get them, Social Security numbers or whatever we got to do. And let's slowly make them all citizens, make sure they're good folks, and let's get it done. That's going to happen. I think that's going to happen before the end of Trump's term. I believe he's going to be the amnesty president. And that will happen right before the next election. You watch. Don't be surprised. If it's not him, the other side is going to bring it up. But I think Trump's going to bring it up. Why? Because Trump is like that. Despite what everybody keeps hearing and saying about the man, he loves people. He wants people to be here. He don't care what you look like or what you're doing. But that's not what the other side tells you, right? They take little snippets and try to make it sound like he hates everybody, and he doesn't. Now, is he a perfect person? Absolutely not. Is he rambunctious, over the top? Yes, he is. Has he done a lot of good things for the country? Yes. Has he made mistakes? Sure has. Just like every president, okay? I got to weigh the good and the bad. Right now, most of the good has been better than the bad. Most of the bad was better than the good, worse than the good. So that's the way I looked at it at that point. I go back to Clinton. Clinton seemed to be pretty close. Matter of fact, I think Clinton was the first liberal and Democrat president that I felt like did a good job. Obama, I felt like things were swayed the wrong way. Everything was built up as if it was good, but it didn't do good for the country, a lot of it. So I kind of put him more in the middle-ish, and I think Clinton was more good than bad. And he was kind of pressed into that because he was in trouble all the time. Reagan, more good than bad, right? The middle Bush, I don't know. The two Bushes, hard to say. I'll put them I'll put the second Bush maybe a little worse than good, and he was a Republican, right? More bad than good there. Not necessarily. Well, he had the home crisis happened under his watch. Okay, he didn't cause it. We understand that part of it. That was something that built up over years and decades. Probably started during the Clinton actual presidency because of how they were giving people homes. But the point being is it happened under his watch. But 9/11 happened, and then we reacted. And I think most of us agree now that we reacted incorrectly. Um, we did some good things on some of the reactions. We got the people that were bad, but we did like going into Afghanistan and some other things we probably never should have done. And what has that led to down the road? It's hard to say. That's why I go Bush a little more negative than positive. I got Obama right in the middle. I really think some of his stuff is ignored that was bad for the country. That continued. Trump, the first one was probably middle of the road because he did some stupid things. He was always having to chase his tail because people were after him constantly. I don't know if much got done there. I'm sure he'll tell you that did. Biden was definitely more bad than good. Look how bad the economy went and everything under what he was doing or whoever was running the show. Now we flipped the script. We've been a lot more good on the economy and that kind of thing, and we've been better. So that's the way I kind of look at it over the years and decades. So that goes to show you I can play both sides of it, and I'm okay with both sides at times. I hope you're like that too. You probably lean one way or the other, but you again, I think about two-thirds of what I believe most liberals believe. And I think about two-thirds of what most liberals believe, I believe. See, because it kind of works out that way. But that it's those thirds that are out on the edges that you can't stand or you can't stand, depending on whether you're left or right. So okay, I got into my soapbox again. I do that every once in a while. If you've been watching the show for a while, that's what's going to happen occasionally. I'll get in my soapbox, but uh, I won't go out and protest out on the streets. First off, it's too much for me anymore to get out there and do that. So I get to protest behind this thing. You all have to listen to me for a little bit. The three people that are paying attention. um, we heard Christy Nome has been kind of demoted a little bit. She's still the director of whatever she's directing, but she's Holman's going to come in and take over for her for a little while, I think, in Minnesota. Basically, because she jumped the gun on the shooting over the weekend of the poor man who got killed, who died from being shot by the police on Saturday. I think it was Saturday. And Christy Nome jumped out there and called him all kinds of things. Now, that being said, I'm sure she got information from other people who told her that, but then that got pushed to the White House, who thought that that was the information. Once the White House heard what was going on and the actual information wasn't what she was saying, he was not a domestic terrorist. The gun was legal. Everything was there that he could have. That it could have been an accident. And why I say accident is the gun that they took away from him may have discharged, which made the police think they were getting shot at by the guy because someone was yelling, I got the gun, or gun, and it went off. And then three different guys shot him or whatever it was. Um, was it over the top? I think it was over the top, but what are we talking about if you think you're getting shot at? I'm not, it's hard to say. And, but she made it look like this guy was terrible. Now, should he have been attacking the police, bumping into them, doing things to them? No, he shouldn't have been. Should he have just given himself up? Yes, he should have. That's probably led to the way it was. But he's fighting on the ground constantly through this. Who keeps telling people that you should fight? Once they tell you to stop, you should get on the ground, do whatever you got to do so this kind of thing doesn't happen. All right. You, ICE is in all kinds any of this in those places because people aren't attacking them. They are not getting in their face. They are not just, burning things. They are not pushing them around. They are not doing a lot of different things. Where is it only happening? One place, Minneapolis, St. Paul. That's the only place it's happening. Portland, every once in a while, too. That's the other place. And those two places are pretty wide open. But I don't hear a single liberal coming out saying, hey, maybe we should stop doing this. Maybe we should just protest instead of protest and try to block streets and attack the police, right? Push the police around and get in their face. Maybe we should stop that. Nope, not one. Not one. Protest. Protest all you want. Protest peacefully. If you're not able to do that, then you shouldn't be protesting. Yeah. Oh, who knows this guy? Produce Pete. Never heard this guy. Beloved TV personality Produce Pete dies at 80 after more than 3 decades on the air. I think I've seen pictures of him though. So there's some pictures of the police sledding down the hill with the kids. That looks like that's probably fun. There was some kind of viral brawl that sparked a $5 million lawsuit as 9 women say steakhouse tossed them out over a fight they weren't involved in. Okay. Uh, well, why do you need $5 million for just getting tossed out of a steakhouse? I don't know. Although I see people getting their hair pulled, so maybe there was more to it than that. There's got to be more to it than that, I would think. Maybe they do deserve 5 million. Um, Daily Mail's John Roush reveals why the White House won't commit to releasing body cam video of Alex Preddy's death. I'm imagining it's not good. I don't mean not good against the police. I mean it's just not good to see. Probably. Um, Preddy was a 37-year-old intensive care nurse for the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Was shot multiple times during confrontation with the Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis and during an immigration enforcement operation. They have not committed to the release of body cam video of the incident from the border agents involved. And it's a video, so I'm not going to show it, but it doesn't tell me anymore. But it sounds like my guess, and this is just a guess. I'm no soothsayer or seer of anything. Is the footage is not pretty. In other words, you're seeing a guy get killed, and none of us like that. A lot of the footages we've seen, we know stuff's going on, but there's so many bodies around, it's hard to tell what's going on. So that's why they keep being seen everywhere, right? Trump vents over his White House doctors requesting some kind of secret medical scan as he fumes it was the worst thing he'd ever did. And there's a bad word in there too. I don't know. Not sure how they do those kind of things, but he's old. So you know what we have to go through when we get old. uh, a woman in a spooky sweater was arrested after trying to recruit others on social media in Trump assassination plot. What are you not going to learn? They are going to find you. They're going to find you. They know exactly what you're saying. They know that I'm on here right now. They know what I'm saying here. If I say something bad, somebody's probably going to come after me. I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm just going to give you my opinion, but I'm not going to tell you to go out and do something to somebody. And she's trying to recruit people to assassinate Trump. Come on, people. Be smart. Don't do that. First off, that's the absolute thing. Why do that? He's only going to be in there another 3 years. All right. So, and the last year will be kind of negative because you won't see much of him because he's not running for president. Other people will be there and he'll move to the backside and he'll be doing things, I'm sure, because he's got to get his limelight time, but he won't be the big dude that's doing it. An internet star abducted after moving from Arizona to Mexico to sell drug cartel merchandise is found safe. Oh, wow. I don't know. The news got out that what was she doing? She's an internet star. She was abducted after moving from Arizona to Mexico to sell drug cartel merchandise. What? Okay, she disappeared, but they found her safe. That's the good news. That I like. I'm okay with that. So that's crazy news on that one. And in that plane crash, there was a top lawyer who was on there, some kind of event planner, the pilot. 3 of the 6 killed in the private jet crash were those while taking a girls' trip to Paris. Sounds like there were ladies on there. And it crashed on takeoff in Bangor, I think Bangor, Maine. Yeah. And I was telling you about the cops going down the sledding, and then it's showing one of the cops crashing in one of the pictures. That's pretty fun. There could be fun in storms too. Okay. I'm not sure. New York's City's socialist mayor mocked for his snow shoveling technique after Big Apple was hit by worst blizzard in a decade. Any guesses he's never shoveled snow ever? Probably not. Probably hasn't had somebody else do it. He's not a poor man. He wasn't a poor man. He came from a rich family, a fairly rich family. My guess he's never shoveled. That's all it is. If you haven't shoveled, you don't shovel well, but it is kind of funny to see a grown man who hasn't shoveled. Now, if you live in Florida your whole time, maybe that's what it is too. That's why you didn't shovel. uh, oh, this is pretty funny too. Luther and the Wire stars, Sir Idris Elba. I like that Sir on Idris's name. He's fined $200 after he was caught speeding at 28 miles an hour and a 20-mile-per-hour limit on his BMW moped during shooting of the film. That's funny. I don't know. He's on the island, wherever they were doing it. I'm not sure where they were shooting it. And he got fined $200. Oh man, this is funny. Some of this stuff. Oh, here's something from China. Xi's trusted right hand man. Xi is the leader of China. Leaked the crown jewels as Trump prepares for blockbuster summit. He leaked the crown jewels. Uh-oh, he gave information to us, and then he got in trouble, I think. He's been dramatically toppled in a sweeping anti-corruption purge that has left the world's largest military in a state of chaos. No chaos. Somebody moves right up into their state, into their spot. You think it's chaos because of what's happening, but the guy right below him stepping right in, just like it happens in the United States. Once Xi Jinping's untouchable right-hand man, General Zhang Youxi's fall from grace was confirmed on Saturday after the secret Central Military Commission launched a high-stakes investigation into his conduct. He may have compromised China's nuclear secrets. Analysts say U.S. intelligence could now hold the crown jewel of Beijing's arsenal, a game-changing leverage as President Trump prepares for high-stakes summit with Xi Jinping this April. Is he going there or is he coming here? I'm not sure. Coming just days after Trump's new national defense strategy prioritized Western Hemisphere dominance. This latest slashing leaves Xi without his most seasoned military advisor. While the purge consolidates Xi's absolute power, it strips away a moderating voice. All right. And people fear that if it's unchecked, Beijing could go on its own rampage and easily miscalculate a move toward Taiwan or the South China Sea. That is not a miscalculation in their view. It's a miscalculation in our view, not theirs. All right. Their view, they're going to take Taiwan, whether it's now or later. They're going to do it. All right. So while state mouthpieces vaguely cited grave violations of discipline and law, insiders claim the betrayal goes far deeper, alleging the general leaked core technical data on China's nuclear arsenal to American intelligence. The gravity of such a charge cannot be overstated. We're not going to see that guy ever again, probably. He's in China. Yeah. The allegations of the leaked information would be remarkable and, if true, highly likely to result in the general's execution. Yet getting the full extent of what information was passed will be likely shrouded in secrecy for years to come. But was this a genuine coup attempt or a calculated frame job? Yeah. I mean, if you're the leader and you just don't like that guy, you just say he did something and, you get rid of him. That's the way it works when you're in ultimate power like they have over there. The purge of top brasses is often framed as corruption cases, but the reality may be more complicated. It may be an indication that Xi's power is constantly being challenged by people around him. Only time will tell whether there were actual nuclear secrets revealed or whether it is a ruse to get rid of him, of course. So that's what it goes on to say. Looks like warns this isn't the first or last of Xi's purge. That's what the Pentagon warned. They go to the highest level leadership to include close childhood friends and otherwise staunch Xi supporters. Expect more of these anti-corruption purges that really are more about party discipline than what we in the West would consider corruption. Zhang was the operational leader of the People's Liberation Army, the military wing of the Chinese Communist Party, and the unified armed forces of the nation. He is a childhood friend of President Xi and had survived several rounds of removals that began when Xi came to power in 2012. And that's, more than 200,000 officials have been boosted or booted. It was 2023 that he got rid of his friend like that. And everybody's still shooting for this 2027 timeline, and that he may be cleaning house so he's got everything in line to take over Taiwan next year. Um, I still want to say that because Trump's in there, the showdown won't come till after that, but who knows what they want to do at any time. I still don't think this is going to be lots of boots on the ground type of thing. It's going to be a drone thing. They have more drones than anybody in the world right now, so I could see that happening. But this kind of thing is very similar to what Stalin did. He purged his generals leading up to the invasion of Poland. He did the same kind of thing. And so that clock continues to tick, and all indications are that preparations are proceeding forward from what we've heard. And I kind of try to keep an eye on that every single day. What's happening in China, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Iran. A little bit on Little Rocket Man in North Korea. Every once in a while, he's got to send something out there. But generally speaking, these are things we've got all kinds of ships now in and around Iran. If we want to do something, there's been indications that Israel's made some moves that may indicate we're going to uh, have some bombings in Iran. Plus, one of our planes moved here, but it could be any time. Trump's been good about telling you yes, he's going to do it, and then he won't do it, and then all of a sudden he does it, or just telling you nothing that but he backs up what he's going to say when he needs to. So. Uh, so that's how that has gone too. Here it says ICE carrying out horrific acts of intimate torture at men being held in detention facilities, the ACLU claims. I'm not sure what happened in that, but that shouldn't be happening either way, right? You know, we don't need to torture guys. They're already in prison. They're already there. They're waiting to go to wherever their country is. No need to uh, torture any of the men that are there. Texas Governor Abbott warns ICE losing respect up in Minneapolis, but in Texas they're still free to do whatever they want, and they're not having the pushback in Texas. So that's why they're doing a great job there, right? Because people aren't enforcing and trying to push them around there. If they're protesting, they're just protesting on the sides, and things are okay. um, so that's what's going on in the world, at least at the moment, right? That's the big news, the home news, and what's been going on around the nation. We talked about some Purdue stuff, getting ready to do the weather again one more time before we end the show here today. Um, and I like to hear what you have to say. I want you to get in there on the chat. Kingdom Mindset says, I'm doing a good job. Thanks, Kingdom Mindset. I don't know what time he got in here, but that's cool. I got him on the chat there. I got it sitting on the side so I can see what's going on. I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun with it anyway. I would love for you to just give me some ideas, right? I'm a guy that likes to bring in all kinds of information, look at all of it, and then try to make a decision on things. I am not one of those that says my way is the only way, right? I like doing that, and I think that's a good sign of leadership. Not that I'm trying to say I'm a great leader. I don't mean it that way. I mean that gathering information and making decisions based on what you see there after you've analyzed it and looked at it. Now I think that's more the weatherman in me, bringing in weather charts from all kinds of different places and trying to make a decision on what is actually happening out in the weather. That's probably more likely why I like to hear ideas from other people and what they think. And I really, truly do. And you'll find many times I will go with somebody else's idea because I think it's better. Right. And there's times I do my own stuff. I'm not one of those that wants to hear the stuff and then does what they want every time. And I know lots of people like that. Saw a lot of people like that in the military. But luckily, the guys who led me did not do that. They were good leaders. They taught me to listen to everybody around me and to draw it all in before I made decisions. Good men, good people, and good women too. There were some good women there too. Um, and I will never forget them. That's for sure. I think many of us are like that, right? We don't forget the people who led us and taught us, and we appreciate that. Does that mean everything was perfect? No, it's never that way in anything in our lives, right? Am I perfect with everything I do? No, not there. Not going to say that ever in any way, shape, or form. But a lot of these things led to some good things in my life and to the people around me. And I think most people would agree I'm not quite a mean person or anything along those lines. So it did lead to some good things from those guys because those guys were like that too. They were good-hearted guys. They worked hard. They played hard. They enjoyed life. They enjoyed their families, and I feel like I do the same thing. And I think my family feels the same way. My kids, my son and daughter feel the same way. Their kids feel the same way. The grandkids. So I really think a lot of you should be doing the same thing. Here's the first thing I say: get married. Make sure it's a good woman or a good man who's probably godly. That's the way I like it. All right. Now, I wasn't that godly when my wife and I got married, but I became godly afterwards, and she was patient with me, and she kind of guided me along. And then as things changed and my life got different, and I got older, and things happened to me, God came into my presence, and I started believing strongly. Not that I didn't believe before, more intently. Started studying, started doing all kinds of different things with my walk with Christ, and then became a pastor. So and as many pastors will probably tell you, they're probably like me. I cannot quote you every single thing in the Bible. I know people who are like that, and I really appreciate that. I really love that. Like to have them standing next to me when we need to talk about something with somebody. That would be a good thing to have. Um, but that doesn't make the pastor, does it? And being able to talk a lot can help for preaching. Obviously, that's what I may be okay at. As you can see, I can talk for 3 hours, but the pastoral, being quiet and listening to people, is a harder thing for me to do, and something I continue to try to work on a daily basis. And other people have tried to give me ideas on what I can and can't do, to help other people out instead of injecting myself into what should be. What I think is a great deal that would be great for you to hear is not always the right thing to do, right? So I'm learning as I'm going through that too, and many of you are, as you go through life. And here I am, 60 years old. I'm still learning about those kind of things, right? Still learning about life and where we're going with it, and what God has for me, and the many blessings He has had for me and my family, despite all the hardships, just like everybody else, because there's been plenty. All right. Um, I want to pop into a couple places here. I'm going to see. I'm going to go in here to. I know this is. I'm not showing it to you, but I'm just going to pop it on my screen and talk to you about it. There's a couple things. Ooh, the first thing came up was Tail of Dragon. Oh, the Tail of Dragon is this 318 turns on a highway in like 11 miles. It's fun to ride on a motorcycle. We're thinking of going up there on the Slingshot this year. We're down there. It's in Tennessee and North Carolina border. Crosses both basically. That's the first thing that came up on my on my feed. There was the Tail of Dragon, and there's two of them because it shows some snow down there. They got some snow in that area too. Um, I think this is, I think this is funny. If you rarely drive on snow, just pretend you're taking your grandma to church. There's a platter of biscuits and 2 gallons of sweet tea in glass jars in the back seat. She's wearing a new dress and holding a crock pot full of gravy. That's how you're supposed to drive. That came from Twitter. That was an advice they put on. You can find some really funny things on Facebook at times, right? There's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff. Um, I also found a couple pretty cool sites that showed some different things around the local area that I'll show you to about and with here pretty soon too when I get a chance. See if I can find some of this stuff. I was actually trying to look for the Tippecanoe County, um, like the monitor, the people who have been monitoring the police bands and all that, and give you information. There's a couple of them here in. Let me just type in Tippecanoe and see if I can get that real quick. I like them. They give you kind of updates of what's going on. There we go. Tippecanoe. Scanner Freaks. There we go. The Tippecanoe County Scanner Freaks. Um, it's pretty cool what they have on theirs and what they do and what they go. They update information a lot of times. You know, they got the 2 hour delays on here. They've got information about something that rollover accidents that happen sometimes. Sometimes they have a lot of stuff on here. Sometimes they don't. Just depends. But it's kind of interesting. You find out sometimes information here quicker than you do in other places. on that front anyway. So that's the Facebook, the Tippecanoe County, Indiana Scanner Freaks. They have 101,000 followers now, and I know they didn't have that many the other day. So they're picking. That's like almost everybody in the county, right? Keeping Tippecanoe County informed, one post at a time. I like to go here. I like to see these guys, see what they have to say a lot of times, and that's pretty cool. I really do like them. I think I'm gonna put them in a spot where I can find stuff. Yeah, here we go. So that I can get there pretty quickly. And then I found this other site, which is pretty cool, which shows you where the snowplows are, shows you cameras throughout Lafayette, throughout Indiana. And it's pretty cool because you get to see what the interstate looks like. Interstate looks great right now at the 25, State Road 25 exit. I don't see much traffic considering there, and the roads are clear as a bell, so to speak. All right. I like that word, so to speak. I'm gonna have to start dropping it out of the conversation because I'm saying it too much. Down by Dayton, same thing. Got dry roads. Traffic is looking pretty good. The other day, remember last week, there was a day that was really bad. There is a snowplow out on I-65 right now. Got a picture of him. I don't know if he's sitting somewhere, if he's moving. Doesn't really tell me that. You can see them move though from place to place. Different snowplows out and about, and cameras around the city. Here's Teal and Veterans Memorial coming together, and I can see some snow-covered roads there a little bit, but generally speaking, the roads are clear, just wet, with a little snow in different spots. Looks like going into the malls where most of the snow is on the engines there. So this website, oh, let me go back to it. So this website is Search Traffic Wise is where I found this one, and it's an Indiana site, but it's pretty cool. You can zoom in on wherever you want to go. It'll give you cameras, different places where the snow plows are, the ones that have cameras on them, and they are all over the place. You can see them. Pretty cool. Got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 7 cameras just locally in Lafayette that you can find different things on. So pretty cool. It'll give you older pictures too that the cameras took from where the plows are or where they've been, which is pretty cool to see some of that information if you like that kind of thing. But the pictures of what's going on at different times is pretty nice, and our roads look pretty clear. The guys did a great job. They got the things cleared really nice and good for everybody, and so that's a site that's pretty cool to look at that I'm going to keep in my weather page here so that I can keep going back to it when I want to. I have things like in here, obviously I have the forecast models in here. I got these plows. I just put that Facebook page where I can look at those different information locally on there. Weather in Indy and windy weather. If you've never heard of that site, that's a pretty good site. It does models, like the pictures of that. And this one works real well. Like I clicked on it and it went to the Middle East. And it went to the Middle East because that's where I used it last time, which was when Susie and I were over in Egypt and Jordan and Israel a few years ago, 2.5 years ago now. Actually 3 years ago already, but that model covers everywhere. And it's the same thing. It's using the same models. It's just a different visual of it. If I go to like zoom in towards Lafayette or just tell it Lafayette, it'll tell me what's going on there. I'm going to put that in here. And I think I'm going to switch it over. Lafayette, Indiana. Boom. And then I'm going to switch it over so you can see what it looks like. There we go. And it's got these wind barbs that move. You can see them moving. There's Lafayette. It's pinpointed. I already put it on there. So it has a forecast down here at the bottom that you'll be able to see. And the forecast at the bottom will show you what's going on at the different times and the different places. Throughout the period, showing our temperatures only getting to maybe 15 or so today, -2 tomorrow morning, -7 Thursday morning, -8 Friday morning potential. It's all there. You're going to see a lot of that with this map and the way it looks. And it zooms in and out pretty easily, but it's showing me the same data. And it'll tell me where it's coming from. I can get rid of that. I can go tell it I want a specific model. I really like this thing too. So this windy weather is really nice to use at times. I can tack the radar on there. And what do I see when I get the radar? It's changed a little bit. I haven't been there in a while, but you can see where some of the snow is forecasted to be up here to the north, right? And Lafayette is looking pretty good right down here. There's not much happening there on that front. And we look pretty good, at least for the time being. There's all kinds of different ones in here. It does have that the her, which I want to see the her because that's the short range forecast. And it shows 17 right now, and it'll give you the time frame that you want on the bottom, and you can just move it forward in different places and see where it's going to go. And I might use this from time to time too, because I do like the way it looks. And it shows a lot of the stream of coming off the lake of the snowfall and our winds coming out of the northwest. Let's see what it looks like. This is tonight at 9 o'clock. Let's go tomorrow morning. Boom, 7 a.m. Shows us at least -1 at that point, -17 in Indianapolis. Remember, there's supposed to be a big pocket of cold right here over southern Indiana with all the snowfall there, open skies everywhere. It looks like we're going to have that, but we're starting to get winds out of the west. It's a little warmer over here, so we're going to be not quite as cold. But then when you push it out to Thursday morning, you're going to find the same thing somewhere. Let's go to Thursday morning, -6 in Indy and 3 here. But that's the her. Now, the European model says it's going to be -4 that morning. All right. So it's just dependent on whichever one we're talking about and whichever one we're looking at any given point. All right. So that's why I like the windy model. The windy model is pretty good. And I like it. You can pop out on it pretty easy. It's still showing the same information. It's just showing it in a different view, a different way to look at it. Some of them are very pleasing to the eye because I can see the winds moving. I can see a low pressure system, that kind of thing, developing pretty easily in places. And then you just kind of move it out to where you're going. What does it say about that snow on Friday? There's that little snow having passed on through Thursday night into Friday morning, going there. And it just doesn't show much for us for weather. Everything's out long range, doesn't show much. You can put it in motion and you see where things are diving in from Canada. There's a big low in the area around Alaska right now in the Gulf of Alaska. The Gulf of America is pretty quiet with offshore flows there, which they don't see a lot of. Heading down to Belize and stuff, weather looks great down there. Off the coast, there's something that's Sunday forecast, Monday going out to that point. And you start to get you got to get a different model for that. You got to pay for that when you get a little farther out there, but that's okay. It still shows some pretty good information for us and shows an approaching system on Sunday, maybe into Monday or Tuesday. So that's the windy model. All right. So what else we got on here? Let's go into our regular weather, though. Oh, we only got 20 minutes left, so let me cover as much as I can there. I showed you some of the things I use, where I use them, and what I do with them. It's 18 degrees outside right now, sunny, windy, and that's going to be about our high for the day. We're going to be roughly right in there. I think with enough sun, we still might pop 20 in a couple places, so don't be surprised if we hit 20. But tomorrow morning, well, it's 18 with a 20-mile-per-hour wind. So you got a wind chill at 0 to maybe feeling like -5 anywhere in there. We probably have some gusts that are 25 miles an hour to 30. So you're going to have a little extra of cold with those gustiness. And there is an advisory out for this evening. And the advisory for cold weather says basically that we will see from 10 p.m. tonight till 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, a cold weather advisory with extreme cold warning with 20 below zero wind chills expected, and portions of all of central, east, central, and northern and central Indiana. And you can take a look at the map right here. All of Indiana, most of the cold over here, same thing there. A little warmer up towards Chicago. They don't have the warnings out as of now, but that may come out later as the day goes on. I see this little one here. Yeah, a little flood advisory for the Kankakee. I think that's the Kankakee up there. Monday, the stage was 4.9 feet forecast. The river is expected to remain near flood stage while the ice jam is in place with local water level fluctuations possible. So there's an ice jam on I think that's the Kankakee River up there. River ice may also cause gauge observations to be inaccurate. So flooding caused by an ice jam continues the Kankakee River from the Illinois-Indiana state line downstream to confluence with the Iroquois River at Aroma Park, including the Moments Gauge. So that, I believe, would be where, yeah, that's almost over to the interstate there too, is what they show for that one. So there's a flood advisory up there. And I hadn't even thought about the ice being on the rivers. I've seen it. It's interesting to see that. That's for sure. Our river's trying to freeze over. Do not walk across the frozen river, please. Do not walk over a frozen river. Cannot say that enough. A lot of our lakes are maybe cold enough. If they got ice on, it's probably pretty thick by now with the extended cold. But the rivers, even though they show they got some ice on them, do not walk across them. That ice will be very, very thin at best. You do not want to walk across a frozen river. All right, good enough. We said that enough, right? um, oh, I lost my picture. Let's see what we have here. All right, let me get rid of some of this other data, and maybe that'll make it run a little smoother. There we go. All right, so there's the satellite picture. It doesn't show much of anything for us. We're going to switch it over to the visual, the day cloud phase real quick. We can see the snow on the ground very easily here. A few clouds out to the west. There you go. A couple little strips just starting to show up out to the west, and I see some cumulus clouds kind of streaming in over to the west of Chicago right now. But for us, we're in the open. We have just a few clouds here and there, and you could just barely see them on those last couple pictures starting to show up. If I change it to the infrared, it really doesn't help much, did it? It didn't show much at all. So, and the big picture going out to the, let's go sub-regional, and there's just nothing there. There's just cumulus low clouds, nothing there to speak of that are real thickness. If they do get thicker, because they are coming towards us a little bit, maybe that blocks out the sun and maybe helps keep us just a little bit warmer. And maybe the model is showing that it won't quite get all the way to southern Indiana by later this afternoon into the evening. That's why they'll be a bit colder than us. But you can see the clouds streaming across Lake Michigan. It's snowing on the backside of the lake there pretty easily. Probably Benton Harbor all the way up the lake. For people that are there that are in that front. And let's take a look at some of the models here now. Let's go back to the HER, which is our latest update. And I want to see what the winds are going to be. And we're 100% in here. I'm going to go to wind gusts first. What do our wind gusts look like as the day goes on? So here we are. We're pumping 25 knots right now, pretty much. Everybody's hanging around there. It's cold, windy. But we see a decrease in the speed as we go into the afternoon, into the evening, and then look at the drop off 13, 12. Lafayette's right here if you haven't seen it. And it shows 9 knots at about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock tonight. Not too bad. Overnight, we're down around 8 to 10, but that creates a difference of at least 10 degrees. And if you are at -4 and you have a 10 or 15 knot wind, you're at -15 to -25 on your wind chills, depending on the gustiness of it. So at least the winds do die down from what they are right now. If we had this wind tomorrow morning at 25 knots, we'd be seeing wind chills -25 to -35. But we're going to see wind chills probably right around -2, right at that verge of -20, maybe a couple spots -25 tomorrow morning, all depending on temperature and the speed. But that's a pretty good range, I think. -15 to -20 in the morning is possible. With a temperature of about -3, we go and take a look at that on the new, and the temperature shows, well, this is 7Z. So let's see what it says at 9Z. This is 4 in the morning. It says we'll be down to 0 already. All right. -2. That's as far as this model goes out right now, is 18. So -2s, -8s close to us. When you change that over to like the NAM, you'll get a -5. Look at the pocket. They changed that a little bit. The new run now is showing a pocket of -5 over Lafayette tomorrow morning on the NAM. That's at 9Z. There's 10, there's 12Z, which is 8 o'clock in the morning. So 5 o'clock at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is 1 o'clock. It's -2. Lafayette being right here. That's at -2. They do put a moniker over us. That helps to see it. That's at 1 o'clock in the morning. Here's 4 o'clock. It's -5. And here's 7 o'clock. It's -5. And then it rebounds a little bit up to, I think that's a 2 or a 3 there, maybe a 5 by about noon or so tomorrow. So we'll see a rebound back. So do the schools, because of the cold wind advisory, go on a 2-hour delay tomorrow? I don't know. Seems like one day they didn't and one day they did. Today they had obviously still some snow conditions they had to worry about. And so that may have been something that got hooked into with them. But right now, it doesn't look like that's what's been happening. All right. So There we go. All right. So that's the NAM. And again, no moisture, no snow, no nothing for us to worry about as of right now. Just the gusty winds and the cold temperatures for the next couple of days. That will be the big thing that we watch out for. And the GFS, how far is the GFS? It's out 72% now in the GFS. So let's see what it's got. It's got, remember, we talked about the GFS going way out, but then you can't count on everything. But here we are with temperatures. It shows us -1 tomorrow morning, only 15 tomorrow, then like 0 the next day. Nope, -1 on Thursday. So it's a little more not as aggressive as the European model. Still shows cold. There's another minus basically in Saturday into Sunday. So we're starting to pick up more cold, more cold. I don't see any warm anywhere here. I think we were saying next Thursday or Friday was the first chance to maybe get to the freezing mark. There's Monday. We popped to 28. That's colder. I think it showed 29 or 30. So it's dropped a little bit on this new run. And then we still see cold. There's lots of 20s here. This is Tuesday next week. Not much for warmth anywhere. There's a 29 on Tuesday. So now we're starting to see some positive. This is still 5 degrees at least below normal for this time of the year, 29. Then it stays fairly warm that day. There we go, 32 on Wednesday next week, 32. So, and we have a southeasterly flow helping to pull temperatures up from the south into the southeast. Then it stays warm for a day or so. Oh, 34. What are we talking about farther out now? Oh, here comes a little shot of cold. On Thursday night, back into Friday, here comes some more cold, but not too bad. Starting to see some 30s on there. So now we're out to next Saturday, the 7th of February, and there's some moderation right there. I see 50s and 60s in Missouri and 30s for us, getting close. Maybe that's a sign to something to see. Tomorrow we'll have some more information. There'll be more out on that. I'll be able to talk to you some more about the long-range forecast and what we'll be seeing during that time frame. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting for sure. And we'll be able to see where we're going. Right now, still looks like it's going to be cold. And only a few days, occasionally, none in the next 2 weeks are we going to be above normal by this. Nothing. Because by this time frame, we should be up to like 35 or 36. So it'll only be 1 or 2 days here or there. We'll even have a chance to get to our average high. And we are going to consistently be 10 to 15 degrees below the average highs and the average lows throughout the entire time frame, it looks like. And if we zoom out, we go to the entire country or most of it. Let's go to a big picture of at least around us, right? Look at, there's the warmth, but this is way out there, all right? Let's go back to where we are now. And what you see is lots and lots of blue. Okay, blue is an indicator of what the temperatures are, and it changes the averages, right? But look at, there's just not a lot of push. I'm going through this by every 3 hours when it clicks. This is Thursday afternoon, still only shows 16 in us, and there's no warmth around us. We're in this big pocket. The jet is far to our south. We're keeping us in the cold. It's just like we're in Canada almost. Very cold morning, Sunday morning again. Lots of cold weather still there on Monday. There's the first start of some green coming up into Illinois on Monday. And then Tuesday morning, cold. There's Tuesday being a little warmer. And then what are we going to do on Wednesday? Boom, we're getting even warmer. Thursday, kind of a shot of the cold coming back. And here we go. We're going back down. And we're going back down. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then here's where I feel pretty optimistic now. Look at this. 50s and 60s way out to our west. Kansas, Nebraska. It's going to be in the 60s in Nebraska in February. Now, we'll only be 35 that day, but this might be an indication of a change on the new run coming up. Again, that far out, though, we can't trust anything, right? Remember what I said? We can't trust anything outside 2-3 days. It'll pick up big systems. It will pick up trends this far out. Now, the trends on the last model run were cold for that time frame out there, too. But right now, this looks a little warmer than it was, all right? So that's some positive on the GFS going way, way out there like that. Bring it back here. Let's see what kind of precipitation it shows. Probably doesn't show a ton. The same stuff we've been talking about, just high pressures in control. There's nothing, some fleeting by stuff every once in a while. What day is that? That's Thursday into Friday. Remember, the system dives just under us. It looks like we are right here, just to give you a good indication of where we are. Sorry, I had to take a little drink, get the throat going. And then we kind of continue on with Friday into Saturday. Saturday, nothing. There's that little wave that comes from the north on Saturday, could push maybe some light snow in here. This is hard to see what's going to happen with this. And it's a lot less than it showed before. And then, but it still shows what, there it is, coming right there on that's Saturday into Sunday. Now, it's along the state line right here with Lafayette being here, but anything are in here. Is this a low pressure system coming out of the north? It's hard to tell. You don't get a lot with that, but there is at least a lake north of us for some moisture. And then the next real system doesn't look like anything now compared to what it did. Looked like it might have some potential to get us, and just nothing there. Now I'm out to Tuesday already. See how just keep moving forward. Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Wednesday. Here comes that system from the south. And it looks like nothing now. It just looks like the main low is down to the south. I mean, there's some stuff to the north of it that could get to us. Doesn't look nearly as tight and organized in our area as it did on the last run. So that looks, yeah, and that's going to vary for next week. That's next what? Thursday and Friday. And those are the days it could be warmer, right? With the warm influence. And could we be some rain there? There's a possibility of rain. Let's see what the temperature is at that point. Yeah, see, we're hovering around freezing again. That's the same that it showed before, but I think the timing's a little different now than it was before. And it's not nearly as strong as it was on the previous run. And then there's just nothing there again. We're back to nothing. Cold winter, not as cold, but still cold. High pressure to our north, and nothing for systems coming through. So the trend is going to be the same, it looks like. We are going to see in the long range cold, temperatures below normal with just an occasional temperature above normal. This is the monthly calendar. This is January. It shows us here. It shows no temperatures above normal. Matter of fact, doesn't even show a temperature above 20 right now for the rest of the month. We've got 5 days left, 18 today. And then when you look at on the longer range, this is today. This is what happened during the year, going back to the left. To the right is the forecast of what it's going to look like. Shows cold, one little upbeat, cold with 1 day warm, which is in the middle of February. And then late February, it starts to get warmer again with a lot of cold in it looks like the third week of February. It looks really cold again. I don't know if we're going to talk about a temperature of minus 16, but that's what it's showing. Matter of fact, minus 23 on one day, where the average is normally 42 and 25, minus 23 on February 21st. Now, trend, I'll go with cold. I don't know about minus 24, but we'll see. We'll see. We should mark that one down and see if that one's going to happen on February 21st. Minus 23 degrees. That's something to keep in mind. I'll write that down. Minus 23. I don't know if I'll keep it in my mind. I'll probably forget it on the 24th of Feb. Big old question mark on it. You guys can think about that too and remind me of that as we get closer, right? If we have that, that'll be kind of fun to see that. And go back out to the satellite picture. Just take a look at the entire country here as we kind of wrap things up today. There you go. Okay, so this is the visual. Remember, the ground shows up as blue, generally speaking. Your snow is kind of a yellowish snow. Your clouds are more white. You can see them in the whiter. And then your high clouds have a little yellowish tinge to them too. And they look more wispy, like coming off. These are all clouds just coming off the mountains. See the mountains right in here? You can see it on the picture. And just clouds being forced over the mountains. There's uplift of the mountains, which creates an uplift and can create clouds. And then they just stream off over towards Kansas and Oklahoma and Nebraska and even some spots. But for us, big old high over the entire area. Look at the country. It's pretty quiet now after the storm went through. Lots of snow coming off the lakes, though, if they're in those areas. Canada, you're probably seeing plenty of snowfall, too, right now in northern Ohio, from Cleveland all the way over to Buffalo and then over to Rochester. Lots of snowfall for those folks. If you are traveling, the central portion of the country looks pretty good right now. You can easily see too that the jet stream comes down, drops south of us, goes way down to Florida on this. And if I use some charts there, let me go to some of those. Let's go to the 250 millibar wind speeds. There's wind speeds, and then I'm going to go out a little bit on this. This is something I haven't showed you guys before. We'll just go with contiguous US. You can see where the jet is here. It shows the jet. Now, this is in a few weeks. Here we are now, Lafayette being here, and the jet is right here. It's kind of got two branches, but it's definitely farther to the south, the strongest portion of it, which means all the cold air is trapped north here, and the warm air is pushed way farther to the south. And just watch where the jet kind of stays. It kind of stays. We are right here. Now it's over us by Wednesday. Watch, there'll be a bubble, and then everything drops south of us again for a while for the jet stream. Flying wise, the jet stream will create turbulence, but it also guides all of our systems. And look at we're still north of it through this entire period. Look at that. The jet makes a big drop on Saturday and then continues to just kind of stay south of us. Here it's going to try to come back to the north for a while, but then reorientates itself south of us again. It's got this big kind of omega look to it, and doesn't last probably very long. The omega highs don't last that long. And then they pushes through, and the jet stream is still south of Lafayette, with Lafayette being right about here, or over us. And it never really goes and orientates itself north of us anywhere like it does up here. See this going way north. And remember, this was when we saw 60s out here to our west in February, right? Middle to late February, we start seeing 60s out here on the long range, and the jet is going to, so this big high right here, this jet right there, I wonder as it orientates itself to the south like this over us, it still drops way to the south over here. The eastern seaboard is going to stay cold. It's going to get real warm out west, and eventually this may push this big ridge. We call this a ridge when it pushes to the north like this. We call these troughs when they drop to the south. With the jet stream, will it move itself in the middle of February over us? Well, this stops at 318, so we're only out to February 9th on this. We'll have to see. Is that the big change from what it did before? Because the previous run, see this, it's more flat. It's not that deepness bending, and then it keeps it there south of us right here, still there with the colors, the deeper colors. So my question is when we go back out to about here, and we come back to the new run that's coming in now and trying to finish up, it shows that deep dive. And see how it's starting to move. Is this starting to move? Will it pass to our east and stay to our east? Because we're right about here, and that's the farthest east the jet has been. There we go. Because this is warmer air out here, and this could be the middle of February where we start to see some of the warmer weather and getting it into our picture. All right. So that's it for now, guys. I think we're done for today. We're going to call it a day. We talked a little bit about Purdue. We talked a little bit about weather. We talked a little bit about everything. You know, Lafayette, as we head into the rest of what's going on, middle of this cold snap, when the wind bites and the nights feel just cold and they're long and it's easy to feel isolated, you're not alone. All right. Our community has shown time and time again that we show up for each other. We open doors, we donate blood, we check in on our neighbors, our friends, our family. Lafayette is a community. That's the Lafayette spirit. Let me leave you with this reminder from Scripture. Romans 15:13 says this: may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. So hold on to that hope today, folks. When you're cold out there, trust in God's warmth, even when the weather is frigid. We'll keep talking, keep listening, keep building this community together. Thanks for starting your day with Let's Talk Lafayette. Stay warm, stay safe, and we'll be right back after this break, which is 21 hours till tomorrow morning. We'll see you then. God bless.